11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Serrano won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that have been joining me on archive. This is Roundtable Aftermath this Monday. We're just getting May started. We're getting close to Cinco de Mayo, which will be on Thursday. Cinco de Mayo weekend. Canelo has returned to the ring. He'll be fighting Bivol in Vegas. I think that should be an interesting fight, to say the least. I'm being joined by Bruce Goes, by TBH206, and also Christina Cruz in the building. I only got it for 2 minutes, so let me ask you a quick question. Actually, no, but in all seriousness, first of all, Christina, you were there, Madison Square Garden, in the big house, right?
Yes.
You were there. Talk to us. How did you see the main event of that evening and the French Cruz fight? How did you see those fights?
So with Franchon, I think she did great. Franchon's style is a little unorthodox, so I expected the fight to look the way it did, but I think she dominated most of the rounds, took control and went for it. The other girl, Serrano, she was very tough and very big compared to Franchon. She was huge. She was throwing a lot of hard, straight punches, but Franchon was able to loop her punches around and catch her with the more effective shots. I'm really happy for her because Franchon, I've known her since 2007 and roommates when we were on the national team together. So I know what she went through to get where she is now. So I'm really happy for her. I'm really proud of her. And I knew she was going to do it.
Yeah,
and then the main event, it definitely lived up to its hype. The atmosphere in there was unbelievable. I've been to a lot of big fights, especially Madison Square Garden in the past, where we had people like Miguel Cotto fighting, there. I've never felt anything like I felt this weekend. Throughout the entire fight, my heart rate was like going up and down, up and down. It was crazy. And again, as far as watching the fight and my opinion on who won or who dominated. So when I was sitting there watching the fight, I had Amanda winning split decision. I thought Amanda edged it off. Yesterday, when I got back home, I watched it on DAZN, kept it on mute, watched it like 3 times. So this was a fight that is just so hard to score because every single round was close. It's just one of those fights. Like, I couldn't be mad that they gave it to Katie because it was just such a close fight. But watching it, when I got home, I would have to say it was a draw. Yeah, I give the fight a draw. It was such a close fight. I mean, there was like 2 or 3 rounds up there where I didn't even know who to give it to because it was so close, and it was just one of those fights. But it definitely lived up to its hype. It's huge for women's boxing. It's going to go down as one of the greatest fights ever, and I'm just so happy to have been a part of that. I feel like I won watching it.
Man, well, how much of it, like when you were watching, right? Because there has to be a lot, like in your mind, right? So they're both women; they both mean a lot to like women's boxing. One of them is this Olympic gold medalist, legend in the amateurs, okay, and then one of them is like a legend in the pros. So like, and now they're both legends in the pros. But
Yeah.
Like, did you were you favoring anybody going into that fight?
I would have. I love both of them. I remember Katie from the amateurs and everything that she's done for the sport. So I got to watch her come up through there, and then Amanda, I've known since I started boxing, and for her first 2 or 3 pro fights, and at the time she turned pro, I think it was in 2009. I helped her for those fights with sparring. I was her sparring partner, and to see. I was going for Amanda because I know her personally. I think she's a great person. I thought she really deserved it. Um, I got to. I remember Amanda fighting her first 10 pro fights, and her coach Jordan coming up to me like, Christina, you did the right thing staying amateur. Amanda's not getting anything for this. We are fighting these tough girls. We're fighting world champions. We're winning all these belts, and we're not getting anything. So I know what she went through to get where she is right now, and it's really inspiring. One thing I will say, like, that's what it takes. It just takes to stick with something for that long to get what you want, and she did it.
Did okay. Hey, before I go to another panelist here, who won? Like when you were there, like was it the Puerto Ricans, the Irish folks? Like, who won the battle of like who was louder and all that good stuff?
The Irish, they're crazy. They're crazy. They were up there really loud. There was a lot of Puerto Ricans, but I would say it was like 70-30, and the Irish were in there. They were in there hard. Yeah. I mean, New York City is big on a huge Irish community, and so is Puerto Ricans. But I think as far as the noise, the Irish people were there.
Okay, all right. Historian, aka TBH, talk to us, brother. Talk to us about Amanda Serrano against Katie Taylor. I know you called it a robbery, so talk to us. Have you changed your mind?
Yeah, it's a robbery. And I'm not, of course, I'm an admitted, fan of Amanda Serrano. She's one of my favorite fighters in boxing. But being objectively, I mean, it was a hell of a fight. Great fight, probably the best, most entertaining, probably polished women's boxing match I've ever seen. Even going back to the 90s. I thought the fight was closely contested. I had it 6-4 for really 6-4 plus a 10-8 round. In that, I think it was the 4th or 5th round where she dominated, and there was no offense being displayed by Katie Taylor to the point where she almost got stopped. If we wanted to go by,
it's not entirely true, but I'll let you.
Well, but but here's the thing. I thought in the later rounds, the first 2 rounds were split between Serrano Taylor. Then the next couple rounds, you could kind of see, even though Serrano had issues cutting out the ring, in which credit to Katie Taylor being able to move and utilize the lateral movement and utilizing the jab, she kept pop shotting her with the right hand. But she did corner her at one point to force her to exchange, which was going to be her advantage because she's the bigger puncher. She's the more physically dominant woman in that situation. And she really, really hurt her. Going into, I think, the 5th or 6th round. I can't remember the exact round, but I think what really made the fight close is that she let off the gas the very next round, which gave the opportunity for Taylor to recover, and Taylor boxed pretty well for the next 3 rounds going in. Then the 10th round hit, and I thought Amanda Serrano edged it out just enough for that. So when I saw the judges, the way they scored it, the disparity, because I mean, the most you could have said was a draw, but the disparity on some of the judges' scorecards dealing with Katie Taylor, I thought, wow, you really thought Katie Taylor won 3-4 rounds more than Amanda Serrano in this fight? I'm like, oh man. And mind you, I mean, if we want to go there with the whose backyard it is, whose hometown it is, well, this happened in Madison Square Garden in her hometown, right? Now they're gonna have the second fight in Ireland. I'm gonna be honest. Look, shout out to Amanda Serrano, shout out to Katie Taylor as well. hey, they put on a great performance, a great, all-time great fight, probably the best fight in women's boxing history. But I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna play out in Ireland in favor of Amanda if she don't stop her. Now, I do believe with these championship fights with the women, either you have to give them 3-minute 10 rounds, or you have to give them 12 2-minute rounds, because I don't think it's cool that then what's the difference between a championship fight and a regular fight? It's the same thing. It's 2 minutes, 10 rounds. You have to give them either 2 more rounds or the full 3 minutes of a 10 round fight.
Gotcha.
And that's what I would take away from it. But hats off to him. Hell of a fight, hell of a card. Good job by the Zone and Eddie Hearn for putting on the fight. Wasn't happy about the decision, but happy about the fight and the results. Lived up to the hype.
All right. First goes. How's it going, brother? You're muted, brother. You're muted. You gotta unmute yourself, brother.
Damn, I was muted. Damn,
Yeah.
I gave all my greetings and salutations to nobody.
That's right.
But anyway, man, I think you kind of knew what I was saying, bro. But and the fight on
I don't
Saturday
know what
night,
you were saying.
I was saying, what the fuck am I doing in this fight? What? Ladies boxing at its finest, bro. I mean, I saw it at its inception, man. Layla Ali, the coal miner's daughter, Mia St. John. It was basically a time to go out and get a sandwich and bleed the lizard. It was a sideshow, and they even had Foreman and Frazier. They had their daughters fighting. And everybody kind of. But I mean, right now, these women are athletes. They're dedicated to boxing. It seems like they're not the housewives that are just going to the gym. I mean, they're beating the shit out of each other. This was anticipated because it was selling out Madison Square Garden, and I've seen Amanda Serrano interviewed before with her brother-in-law, Jordan Maldonado. Man, he's I don't know what you can say a lot of things about him, but he stated some things in there, and he was talking to her like I'm not going to say anything that's never been heard before. This was on a podcast. He said she is under my control. She trains 3 days a week. She doesn't have a cell phone. She doesn't date anybody. She's a virgin, and she's sitting there, and I'm like, wow. And she was destined to fight. She's a fighter, and I've been watching her for a couple of years. Just a great women's boxer. I mean, half of the guys in here should kick the shit out of you. Believe me, you don't want to mess with Amanda Serrano. And then you go to Ireland, man. You got Katie Taylor, a little island. I don't know, 4 million people or so. They didn't even allow men to box. She had to dress herself up like a little boy and go box. And she won a gold medal. She's got all kind of championships. She's got a whole country behind her. And this fight was, I'm getting vibes from all different sides. This is a huge fight. I'm not going to miss it. And like we said, ladies boxing selling out Madison Square Garden, and all eyes are upon it. Even people were saying this is more important than Valdez and Stevenson. To me, okay, but when it happened, I was totally with the vibe. Didn't disappoint one bit. I was with some people that were bitching about, kind of like the historian, about the decision. I said, I didn't even care about the decision. They both left their all. Did you see the smiles on their face when the bell rang? They hugged each other, and they knew, man, they made life-changing bread for each other's family. And a rematch. There's a stadium in Ireland. I think it holds 80,000, and they're already talking of a sellout, because in Ireland, man, they didn't just. It wasn't just on sports. This was on the national news. This was above the Ukraine war. This was above the COVID. This was huge. It still is right now, man. And I'm glad I'm part of it. I'm a fan of women's boxing now, man. I dig Katie Taylor. I dig Amanda Serrano. They're both winners. A rematch. That's just the only way to settle it, man. And there's not going to be any hanky-panky when you got Jordan Maldonado with Amanda Serrano over there, bro. I mean, they're not going to do anything to her food. They're not going to give any tainted water to her. This is great for not just for women's boxing, but for boxing in general. I mean, I'm psyched, bro.
Definitely. And let me say this, because I keep hearing people say that round 5 was a 10-8 round. That's what I keep hearing, right? It's a 10-8 because he dominated, right? First of all, the round was competitive halfway through until she was hurt. Okay, so I think that should count for something. And I'm a firm believer. It's just me that if you don't knock him down, you don't get that extra point. That's just my personal opinion. I think if you take an ass whooping and you stay on your feet, you don't got to give me that look, BH. It's the truth. That's a 10-9. So they're telling me you would have scored it the same if Katie Taylor would have taken a knee, is what they're telling me right now. And I don't think both things are the same. If a fighter stays on their feet, that's a well-earned 9. It's my opinion. It will allow people to do 10-8s, that people are going to be very subjective about.
How about if fighter A is dominating fighter B, and then in the last 15 seconds, fighter B bangs him with a left hook, knocks him on his ass, and the bell rings? How do you score that fight?
It depends. I would have to actually look at that round. But
if there was no knockdown, it would definitely be a 10-8, a 10-9. But by your standards, it would be a 10-9 round. But then there was a knockdown by the fighter that was receiving the 9 points. What happens there? Is it a draw, or is it?
I mean, it depends. Like if you really hurt somebody really, really bad, or was it?
You got to make a decision fast. A fighter dominates another fighter, but he gets knocked down before the bell, but gets back up.
Dominate,
dominated.
Because obviously they didn't dominate enough to stop him, right? So
no, not to stop him.
Okay, well there you go.
To win the round, but to get knocked down in the round.
It's a 10-8.
The guy who knocks him down.
You score a knockdown, you get a 10-8.
Dominated for the round.
Hey, D-Style, can I get a word with it just real quick? Well, from what I remember reading from the
before you get a word in, that Katie Taylor landed punches in that 5th round, right?
Barely.
Not barely. Half of that round was competitive until she got hurt.
Come on.
I'm just saying, half of that round counts.
I mean, okay.
It doesn't mean she won. She clearly lost the round, but it's not. I don't think that's a 10-8. That's my opinion. But go ahead. What's your question?
Well, look. I mean, when you deal with the rules, right, or the judging criteria that they had, and I remember looking this up back 10 years ago. Look, if they look, it clearly states, and you can give 10, 10-8, 10-7, even 10-6, depending on how much damage was being done or how much more dominant somebody's being. The way Katie Taylor, I mean, it was semi-competitive until like a minute and 30, or like what was it, like a minute in?
It's only 2 minutes rounds,
right? A 2-minute round. The way she piled on that offense on Katie Taylor, she almost had her out. She literally, if there was another minute left,
she stayed on her feet.
Gone, right? We all agree with
but
that,
she didn't
right?
take her out. Did she take her out? She almost had her out, but did she take her out?
Okay, but that's where the judgment call comes in. What do you call that?
It's my opinion. I'm just got to tell you, Christina. What do you think about that? Did he score that at 10-8?
So I do agree with TBH on that. And in the amateurs, that would have been scored at 10-8. Obviously, it's not amateurs, but
well, according to HLD, we got to score like the pros. So shout out to HLD.
I think it was a very, very dominant round by Amanda. And I mean, to call it a 10-9, that means the round was close, and I don't think the round was close. That was probably the only round that wasn't close out of the whole fight. I thought Amanda dominated in that round as well. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, all I know is that 10-8 should be very, very rare.
I mean, but it is what it is. There's rules to scoring in the pro. So it was a 10-9 round. That's how they scored. If it was a knockdown, it would have been 10-8. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion.
Right. I mean, it's not illegal. It's not against the rules to do a 10-8. But I just, I mean, by that logic, we should have scored every single round for Gotti Mayweather 10-8. Right? I mean, we're like, that's my opinion, but that's just me. I will say this though. I think the fact that Katie Taylor survived that round showed me a lot of. I mean, I think heart was the only thing that kept her on her feet at that point, like, and toughness, right? What do you think? What mistake do you think she made, Christina, that led her to get knocked out or hurt like that in the middle rounds?
She stopped moving. She tried to stay in the middle with Amanda, and you don't want to get flat-footed with Amanda because she's just gonna pound you. She's very strong, and she has a chin herself. She's getting hit with some good shots and just walking through them. But she had to keep up that movement. I do think maybe she got a little tired because she was moving a lot. But yeah, it was the movement. She stopped that movement. When she got back on her toes, she was doing a lot better. One thing I do want to bring up about what TBH said about the rounds. I'm right now, I think for the next fight, they have to change. I think they should change the rounds or the timing. I don't know which one, but I remember sitting there. I was sitting next to Sinisa, and after every round, we just kept like looking at each other like that was way too fast. I guess it's different watching it from the outside than being in there, but the rounds were just way too fast. And when they were both starting to really pick up on each other, the end bell would ring. And the WBC needs to step up and allow, because I think they're the only organization kind of holding us back right now. They need to allow us to have more time in the ring. I know they're based
like if you could like give a message to Mauricio Suleiman, what message would you give him?
Man, I would just tell him, you got to change it for us. This is the only way we are going to bring more exciting fights. We're going to get paid more. And we have to be up there with the men. We're fighting in the amateurs with 3 minutes rounds. Why are we going backwards to 2-minute rounds? They're basing their stuff on outdated information from whatever 20 years ago, statistics from 20 years ago. And since then, in the past 20 years, women have evolved. We evolved as a species. Like, you know what I mean? They need to whether come up with new science and allow it, or it's just gonna keep holding us back. And
well, it's like this, right? Like I feel, and I've said this before, and it's just, by no means do I mean this in a disparaging way at all, but the female fighters, when boxing first allowed women to actually box, because they were not even allowed, it wasn't even legal for a long time. But when Christy Martin was fighting, I mean, look, she was on my podcast saying a lot of the girls she fought were tomato cans. That's what she said. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't use that language, but hey, it was her opponents. But all I gotta say is it was more like a tough man the way like the men's tough man contests are today. But now there's these female fighters are athletes. That's what I'm seeing. Right. So it's different. I think it's time to, and you see the UFC, they let them go the full 5-minute rounds. You know what I mean? They let them do it. So and they've done it. So why can't they just let the women do it? But so I'm gathering that you want 3 minutes.
Yes, I want 3 minutes. That's what I was always used to fighting, and that's how I train. And I think it will benefit me more to fight longer rounds.
Yeah, you know what it is, and I hear you. Like the rounds do feel fast, especially like because I was watching Vargas Liam Smith, and there were 3-minute rounds, And then after I watched that fight, the women's fight, I go watch Shakur Stevenson Valdez, and the rounds started feeling like a lot longer, and it's like, yeah, because they're longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2 minutes is extreme. Like, I think an odd number is perfect for scoring, because if one fighter wins the first minute, the other fighter wins the second minute, and then you have that third minute to kind of take that round if you need to, right? Mm-hmm. And the women just don't have that. Like that part of it is missing.
Right. I had a question for Christina.
Sure.
Since you're professional, so how do you feel about the size of the women's gloves? Do you think that they should switch, maybe lower the size of the women's gloves in the professional?
I don't know.
I don't want to get hit with small gloves.
Right, exactly. I actually never really thought about that. That is a really good question. Sitting here now, I'm okay with fighting with the 8s. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. that's something that's interesting, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the 8s right now.
We want to box with MMA gloves.
MMA, no, I'm
No,
not
no.
about that life. But going back to the 2 and 3 minute rounds, it makes a huge difference. And I know people think, oh well, women's boxing is 2 minutes round, and it kind of makes the fight a little more exciting because the girls are just going at it. You'd be surprised that we can still do that with the 3 minute rounds. It doesn't matter. Women, this is just how we fight. Yeah, and I think something really needs to change. It needs to change soon. And I mean, between that fight with Amanda and Katie, if that was 3 minute rounds, I think the outcome would have been a little different.
Have you had an opportunity to see the Shakur Stevenson Valdez fight?
Yes, I actually watched it today. I was trying to watch it that night, but it was just so much going on, and my adrenaline was up like the whole night from that fight. But I got to watch it today, and I knew it was going to be like that. Shakur has figured out his style from a young age on how he fights, and it works for him. And I don't know what it is. He's just like, to me, he's like perfect in the ring. He can see everything. The way he sees things, I've never seen anything like it before. He knows his distance between him and his opponent, whether it's on the back foot or going forward, and he just has perfected that. And I think it was a pretty dominant performance against Valdez. Valdez made the mistake of starting the fight early with a high guard, because you do that to Shakur, he's just gonna pick you apart. I think he had to try to make it a little sloppier, like Maidana versus Broner, like that kind of style probably would have gave Shakur more competition, but I think Shakur was just too dominant.
Did you give Valdez any rounds? Any rounds?
I know they gave like Valdez, was it the 3rd round?
I definitely gave him round 3 for sure.
Round 3, yeah. I mean, that was the closest round for the whole fight, definitely.
Yeah. Well, well, there you go. So good performance by Shakur, and I'll tell you, he's growing fast too. I don't even know. He's looking really, really big in there for 130. But if he could still make the weight, he could always unify. Keep unifying anyway at 130. But do you like his chances at 135 when he does eventually move up, whenever that is, against the Haneys, Cambosos, all those guys?
I do, and I think when the competition steps up for him, you're going to see him even greater than what you see now. He steps up to his competition, and he's that good. I mean, I've told you this before in the past shows. He's going to be one of the greatest fighters to ever live, I believe.
Man, it's a hell of a statement. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him since he was a kid. I've known Shakur and his granddad for many years, and he's just always been great. He's always been great, and you could see how focused he is in that ring. It's incredible to watch.
For sure, for sure. Well, look, we got to let you go do your thing.
Thank you.
All right, and we hope to see you in the ring soon. All right, at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and all that good stuff.
It'll be soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one, Christina.
Thank you guys for having me. Later.
Salute, Christina.
Bye.
All right. Bruce goes. Shakur versus Valdez. How'd you see it, brother?
She really did take some of the thoughts out of my head, bro. Because Shakur, I hadn't seen either one of these guys in a little bit, so I was hoping that it was going to be trench warfare, but I knew Shakur Stevenson, man. I know he's on a different level. I hate to even use that word level, but man, he goes through. He's been going through his career, starting as a graduate student, and then we saw him get his bachelor's degree, and then we saw him get his master's and his PhD. And bro, I think he's getting his doctorate right now. And he tried to go in the trenches. He got hit a couple of times. He even said at the end of the fight, I don't like being hit, man. And it looked really corny, but he doesn't have to get hit. He's that good. He can see the punches coming. You know, Valdez, scrappy Mexican. He put on some great shows recently. Berchelt and the last kid that he fought, the Portuguese kid. But anyway, man, just not in the same class. Shakur Stevenson, he had his way with him in the third round. It got a little tight, but he was tagging him in the face. I mean, he was doing some Ali-like stuff. He's holding his jab out there. He's holding him out, getting his hands pulled down. I mean, dude, he's one of the great ones. I really think we're seeing something here. Don't let this guy pass by under the radar. This is the real deal. This is Sugar Ray Leonard. This is Muhammad Ali.
Man, whoa.
No,
hey, he's good, but man.
Every time I see him, he's doing just what he has to do, just what he wants to do in that ring. He's so under control, and he's a kid. He hasn't even grown into his man size yet. I mean, you can see he's got the baby face, and he's getting smarter. He's got radar in his head. He's got the Benitez back and forth, bro. He's gonna get better. His
head almost went like this, like when he said he was like Ali and Ray Leonard.
You know, I know they throw those terms out here very loosely, but you know, I've seen that the people that I speak.
I just want to see if he could beat Lomachenko. You're already talking about.
I've seen the people that I speak of fight, and I've seen that look, I've seen that face, and I'm seeing it again. You know, is it going to blossom to fruition?
Can I ask a question?
But
Can I ask a question, Briscoes?
What's that, bro?
At 130 pounds, what does Floyd Mayweather do to Valdez?
You know, bro, I don't like to play these fantasy fight games because everybody throws that out.
You started the fantasy game. You compared it to Ali.
No, hey, bro, but that's just that's expectations of somebody that I saw that he can achieve that kind of greatness. Because right now, there's nobody right now that's going to touch him at 130. At 135 pound, he's going to make it interesting. He's going to get another baptism. But I think he's going to come out on top. I have that confidence in him. I'd love to see him in great fights. I saw Ali in great fights. I saw Leonard in great fights. It's not going to be a walk on the clouds all the way to the end of boxing history. There's going to be, he might have to get off his ass. We're going to see some things about him. I'm just saying, I see the potential there. I see the potential of an Ali at that stage, of a Sugar Ray Leonard. I saw Leonard, man, when he fought Floyd Mayweather Sr. at the Providence Civic Center. I was in the fourth row, and dude, I was like, I dug it. It was in my hometown. Let's go to it. I want to see Sugar Ray Leonard. Bro, when I saw him fight, and I saw that look of the hawk once he hurt Floyd Mayweather Sr., and he pounced on him, and he was pretty boy all day, fastest combinations. And I saw that. I can see that in Shakur Stevenson, man. And, hey, will it happen? Maybe. If I was a betting man, I'd fucking bet on it, bro. And, you know, that's the Shakur Stevens I saw on Saturday night, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Nando Llamas. Shakur fights like Money Mayweather and is ambitious like Pretty Boy Floyd was early in his career. He's the truth. TBH, how'd you see it, brother?
Oh, talking about that ass whooping that was
talking about Shakur Valdez.
That ass whooping that was displayed this Saturday, right?
Man, he put a little extra. See how he put a little extra in that? All right.
I mean, look, Valdez, that was a horrible showing, man. I mean, I thought, because I had Shakur winning. I just thought that Shakur was gonna be in a tough fight, but he was gonna prevail. Boy, was I wrong. He didn't even have to fucking do much, but display what kind of brilliance that the man has as a boxer. He's a talented boxer. A wash. I mean, what? I mean, Valdez was not willing to throw punches.
Nope.
Shakur was willing to fucking pour it on him. You know, pound for pound fighter for sure. He's definitely the best guy at 135 or 130. Excuse me. I like to see him mix it up with some of those champions at 130, but they're part of these bullshit promotional brands and business side, all that other goofy shit that we normally hear as to why fights can't happen with champions in their same division. But 135, that would be interesting. I don't think that it's in his best interest to fight someone like Tank. I don't think it's in his best interest to fight certain individuals, but he can match up with pretty good with some of them. I think him and Lomachenko would be a pick 'em, in my opinion. But here's what I see with Shakur Stevenson. He has the potential to be an all-time great. At the very least, he has the potential to be a unified champion in maybe one or two more divisions and be a pound-for-pound fighter, which he is right now, and be one of the very best of this generation, or this generation coming up. I think he definitely has that, but I do think that, because I keep hearing about these Floyd Mayweather comparisons, Floyd Mayweather, you got to understand, is 2 steps above Shakur Stevenson, where Shakur Stevenson is right now at the age he was at. That's how great Floyd was. All right. And if Floyd was in that ring, and, you know, we talk about hypotheticals, but Floyd was in that damn ring last night, he would not play with no fucking Valdez. He would have fucking stopped him in the 6th round. Hey. Worse than what he did with Gotti. And that's just a fact. All right. Wouldn't have been playing. Like, you need, like, what he should have did was he should have closed the show and put that guy out of his misery.
He could have put him out.
He could have multiple times. Like, okay, yeah, he's about to fucking
can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would slow down on the Mayweather comparisons, but at the same time, I think he does have the potential to be a great fighter.
You know what you never heard Mike Tyson say? If I could have knocked him out, but I decided not to. Yeah, he never said that
shit. Who does that shit?
Right. But here's my thing, and I don't want to like look. I feel like the kites are high. You know what I mean? Everybody's high on Shakur. Look, Shakur looked good. It was a great performance by Shakur. He won wide on my scorecard. I had a 9-3. That's pretty wide, and some may even say, "Nah, I had it a shutout." Okay, cool. But I'm just telling you how I had it. I see Shakur getting criticized for not knocking out Valdez, that he didn't go for the finish, that he could have stopped, right? But at the same time, I hear the same people saying, "Oh, Valdez, he should have done this different. Valdez should have taken the body more. Valdez should have." So which one is it? Like Valdez would have loved for Shakur to open up some more, right? And not just hold when he got on the inside. He would have loved that. Shakur Stevenson's a pure boxer. He's never going to be, in my opinion, a knockout artist. And that's okay. He could still be a great fighter without being a knockout artist. But I think when you have, like, there's a reason why when he got in front of a Nakathila, when he got in front of a Valdez in this case, when he got in front of a Joel Gonzalez, that Shakur is programmed to fight a way that's going to give him the highest percentage of victory, right? That's how he's going to fight. That's the type of fighter he is. So he's fighting in a way that's going to give him the highest percentage of victory, which is he's not going to stand there in the pocket and keep throwing and they get caught with something by a Valdez. He's not going to do it. He's gonna be a little smarter than that. He fought a smart fight. I give him credit for that, right? I think he had a really good performance, but I think the criticisms that he didn't stop Valdez are unfounded, all right? You don't just knock out a dude like Valdez. It just doesn't work that way, right? That's just my personal opinion, right? But I will say, to me, I want to see Shakur, right? There's 2 guys I have in mind that I believe stylistically can give him problems. I'm not saying they would beat him, but they could give him problems. One is Isaac Cruz. All right, Isaac Cruz not going to go in there and try to box and outbox his dude and pick his spots. Isaac Cruz is going to come to seek and destroy. Right, very winnable fight for Shakur. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be very interesting. I think Cruz has a shot. The other one, and he's getting disrespected a lot this week for some strange reason. Every time someone looks good, right, and I get why they do it. I have my same issues with Tank. Okay, I have the same frustrations with Tank. But every time someone looks good, everybody, you will wipe the floor with Tank. This dude will fuck up Tank. I'm telling you right now. Like, let me tell you something. Tank Davis might be that dude that walks through Shakur Stevenson's punches.
Yeah. Like,
I'm just saying. I don't know if you guys agree. I'll let you guys kind of chime in how you feel about, like who do you guys think, Bruce, who do you think gives Shakur a tough fight, 130, 135? You're on mute, brother. and I can't unmute you because you're muting yourself.
So, sorry, no. When I hit the Toka 2, I put it on mute so I don't. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like the toilet's getting flushed on the show. But anyway, man, you know it's really hard to go one by one. But all the fights with all the top 135 pounders, I mean, shit, man. They're all different. They're all sound good. You know, Devin Haney or Camboso, the winner of that fight. You know, shit, that was outstanding boxing matches. Fucking Tank, man, dude. See, all these fighters, they've never been tested by fighters of each other's caliber. That's what's going to make them such great fights. And every one of those fights at 135, man, great fights. And then, you know, we're forgetting about Teofimo Lopez, bro. I mean, if this guy gets his head together, the skills that he has, can you imagine those two clashing at 135 or 140, man?
Dude.
I mean, dude, there's so many intriguing fights. And, you know, where I used to come from, these fights were all made. They weren't just talked about. And, hey, how do you think he's going to do against? Bro, let's see. Let's see. It's Friday night. It's going to be on HBO, man. Hey, that's the way it was. And anything shorter than that is just fucked up, man. You know, fights should not be fought on in chat rooms or on fucking panels. You know, I mean, these are all prime fights. No reason they shouldn't be made. No reason whatsoever, man. And now, you know, that's and Teofimo Stevenson, he'll be right in there, you know, amongst the best of them. He may not make it because that's shock-infested water. And I'm not a fanboy of Stevenson. I'm just saying the potential that he has that I see. And hey, anything can happen because some fighters have the fight of their night on that certain night. Nobody's going to touch him. I've seen it a million times. Teofimo may walk into Tank at his fucking peak, and he may tear his head off. The key is getting back up and doing it over again, or resurrecting your career. And all these guys, I mean, I don't think there's a defeat between any of them. You know, it's all undefeated fighters out there. They have to risk that L and fight the cream of the division.
I'll say this, TBH. I want to go to you next, but I want to say that you mentioned Teofimo. Let me just tell you something. And a lot of people don't want to talk about there's three things people don't want to talk about with the Shakur fight. One, and you could either shake your heads or nod your heads in agreement if you agree or disagree. Shakur was hitting Valdez a little low, okay, several times, okay. And in my opinion, he knew he was doing it. Okay, an accurate puncher like that doesn't accidentally low that many times. But I think he was waiting till like that very hard like warning. And it's on Valdez to return that receipt. He didn't, but it is what it is, okay? The other thing, the stiff arm being sticked out like that, I'm not mad at Shakur. They never took away a point, but how many warnings are going to get for that, okay? But there's another thing, all right? Valdez was landing right hands on Shakur, all right? Granted, and a lot of those Shakur's kind of, you know, moving away and taking away some of the absorption of that punch, but he was getting hit with the right hand. Like to me, round 3 was getting hit a lot with the right hand, TBH. I'm just saying, okay? It was another round. I think it was round 7. He was getting hit with the right hand again. Okay, I'm just pointing it out. What would somebody like a Teofimo Lopez do with a fast right hand like that? Like, I'm just saying.
Those things need to be evaluated because I did see him get with. I mean, and mind you, Valdez may not be the most polished boxer out there. I mean, even though he's had a stellar amateur career, whatever, what have you, but he's not one of the most stellar boxers. But he did land like 3 consecutive right hands in a row, and if that happens, usually that's with someone like Shakur, who has probably the best defense in boxing. You know, best defensive boxer right now currently. That would have to be a mental lapse in the fight because nobody's focused 100% time when they're fighting, right? Every single time that you see a punch. So of course you're going to get caught with something. You're not going to go there unscathed. But some of those shots, I mean, when he did back up Shakur, he did clip him a couple times to the body, right? Now, let's say he fights someone like Isaac Cruz, who is a good inside fighter, who has good head movement, decent punching power, who has relentlessness, who has he has a good defensive guard to parry and block punches. Let's say he fights someone like Teofimo Lopez, who's a very good puncher. Tank Davis, who's a devastating puncher, or even a Loma, who's a good puncher, who has great timing, who has great footwork and great technique. Can he get away with that shit against guys like that? And plus, those guys, I'm going to say this, right? A couple of those guys, he does not have a sizable reach or height advantage over those guys, mind you. He doesn't have a sizable height and reach advantage over a Vasily Lomachenko or a George Cambosos or a Devin Haney, all right, or Teofimo Lopez. What happens if he has that small little lapse against a puncher of some of those guys' caliber? That's the question that has to be asked. If it happens, then we got to see what really happens, because he was not. Look, I'm gonna say this: his chin was not tested yet. He hasn't been tested because Valdez did not force the issue, and he didn't clip him one time. And that's credit to him. That's credit to his talent and his boxing acumen and his IQ in the ring. But there's level. Everybody knows there's levels to boxing, man. You have good. You have the bad, the average, or the mediocre, the average, the good, the very good, and you have the great. You know what happens when he faces those type of opponents and move up at 135.
You know, I can't get over how, like, every time someone has a great performance, they're like, man, that dude wiped the floor with Tank. That's like the first thing people say, you know? And maybe it's because, you know, they don't feel Tank has been in the mix. I personally don't. But maybe it's time for him to get in the mix, you know, because I think Tank belongs there with these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And he does. And I think he beats a lot of them. That's what's crazy about the fact that, like I think he's going to destroy Raleigh, although we're not going to dive into that. But, you know, y'all, everyone over there, like, by the way, just really quick, everyone out there that was egging on Raleigh, that's laughing at Raleigh because he's trolling Tank, oh, ha, ha, he's calling himself the dwarf killer, and then y'all responsible what's going to happen to Raleigh, okay? It's y'all's fault. Hey, Bruce Goes. Let me ask you this. 135, Haney, Shakur, who's your favorite?
We'll have to see what happens after we see Shakur in another month. But, man, that's dream fights, such dream fights. Damn. Now Shakur still has to grow into 135. So, we're saying he doesn't have the power, but as these people grow, power can actually be taught. I mean, look at a cat like Thomas Hearns, 100 amateur fights, knocked out 10 people, got with Emmanuel Stewart. Nobody could touch him in the pros for 24 fights, bro. I mean, and you know and Shakur is the kind of a person like Thomas Hearns that's that exceptional on that exceptional level that can learn how to turn his punches over. If he wants to get down, he can learn how to knock people out, which he probably knows how to do it now, man. Like I said, he's a four-star player. He's got all the tools. But Devin Haney, man, he's another one. He was born to box. He's on another level. I think he's going to beat Cambosos right there, man. That's an event fight. That's like I don't even want to say Bud and Errol, but dude, in a lightweight division, that's the ultimate fight right now that I can think of. Those two guys, and Tank, throw him in the mix, man. That's a trilogy right there, bro. That's something that somebody who hasn't paid for a fight, maybe ever. No, I'm not going to say I pay for it, but believe me, I'll make sure I got 2 computers going that night.
So, question for both of you: what about Cambosos? Let's say Cambosos pulls it off against Haney, Shakur Moore, because I honestly believe Top Rank's either going to throw, like, let's say if Haney beats Cambosos, right? They have that third fight option with him. Like, they're either going to give him to Loma or they're going to give him to Shakur. You know what I mean? To try to keep the belt in house. Like, they're either going to give him to one of those two guys. But if they give him to Shakur, how do you guys think? Whoever wants to go first, but how does Cambosos do against him?
I'm gonna say this. Cambosos, I think people are asleep. I don't know why people are sleeping on him, even with this Devin Haney fight, because that's a pick'em fight. Look, Styles make fights, right?
Yeah.
He's based on his style is based off of reflexes, based off of speed. It's based off of technical ability as well, technical skills as well, and and the natural athletic ability of his reflexes, speed, foot speed, and whatnot. And he has in the reach that he has. But Cambosos himself, and he's shown that he can take a very good punch from a very good puncher, right, and survive and actually drop that same guy who previously we all would say had a pretty good chin. In Teofimo Lopez, Cambosos' style, I think, will give because he has fast hands, he has good foot speed, and he has decent lateral movement to be able to move around. And I don't know if his footwork's technical, but he's similar to Manny Pacquiao in the sense that he darts in with fast combinations, dart out, and then resets, and then moves around. See, I think a type of fighter like that, and his punch is adequate enough to give him some problems. I believe that if he fights Shakur, that's going to be a tough fight. And I think that, I mean, do I favor Shakur? Yes, but I don't favor him all that much against someone like that because of the style matchup. How does he handle a guy with who also has speed, who likes to throw combinations? And he's not going to do what Valdez did, which is pretty much lay down and pretty much was defeated when the fight started. Cambosos has shown that he's a champion and that he's a unified champion. He's willing to go in there and fight you, and willing go up in there and beat you and throw punches while doing it and fight through adversity. That's going to be a tough fight for Shakur.
That's right. All right. Well, we're going to see how this goes, man. We're obviously going to follow the career of Shakur.
Don't you want to know what I think about that fight?
Of course, yeah. Jump in.
I think Shakur Stevenson kicks the shit out of Cambosos. I think he boxes his ears off. I think when he moves up, he's going to get a little more snap in those fists. I don't think Cambosos will. I think he's going to be made to look like a fool. I think he peaked when he beat Teofimo. You know, I understand. I hear from people that I know pretty well who know Cambosos, and they said he does nothing but train. He doesn't drink, smoke, spit. The dude lives like a saint. He's a family man. He's not crazy. He didn't let the victory go to his head. He doesn't act like a rock star. And he's got millions of people that believe in him. So, you know, who knows in boxing, because they don't fight enough. They don't fight often enough. We don't see him in action enough. But Shakur Stevenson, if you put a gun to my head, you want to know what I think about it? I think Shakur just mops the floor with Cambosos right now. Man.
Yeah. Hey, Calix, first of all, what's going on, brother? All right. Calix looking like he just came back from like playing a pickup game basketball. You know what I mean? Like he's ready to go. But like what's going on? But talk to us, Shakur Stevenson's performance. What you think?
Look great. Look flawless. The only, if you want to nitpick, the only things would be,
I mean, it wasn't a perfect game, but you know.
I mean, it was close to it. I mean, he
was like a four-hitter. You know?
The only criticisms I would have would be nitpicking, and they would be, you like to see him finish the show. Like people compare him to Floyd, but when you compare a guy 24 years old at 130 to Floyd, you got to compare him to 130, 135 Floyd.
And can't knock out. Likely, I don't want to interrupt you, but Valdez is not capable of beating him, and he's not capable of knocking out Valdez. Right. Facts of life.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, you'd like to see him try to close the show a little better. But I thought it was flawless. I thought he looked great. Special fighter, high ceiling, and he's already cracked my top 10. I dropped a video about that earlier, pound for pound, because he's got a top 10 win at 126 against Yoet. He beat the top two guys at 130 now. And then look at what we're doing now. We're comparing him to guys at 135 if he were to move up to 135. And if he were to move up to 135, now you take the guys in the top 10, he's either even odds or a slight betting favorite against all those guys, right? So he matches up with anybody in and around his division. So he's a pound for pound guy in that note with the top wins. And also I haven't seen this guy definitively lose a round yet. I mean, can you think of a round like he
Round,
definitively lost?
he definitively lost round 3 against Valdez.
Do you think so though, or was that a
Yes.
comparative round from 1 and 2, like a carryover? Because you got to give Oscar Valdez credit. He found his straight right hand in that 3rd round, and he looked great with the straight right hand. But Shakur still did some things in that round as well. So all I'm saying is, you look at all his fights up to this point, and there was a stat I saw last week that he's won 141 out of the last 144 rounds on the scorecards. That's an amazing stat. And those 3 rounds that he lost were close round, like a split round, where 2 judges won him. But you can argue that this guy hasn't definitively lost a round in his career yet.
Does he really have like a Roy Jones streak that he's not losing rounds like that? Like,
up to this point, like, and then remember Klitschko's run where he was barely losing.
I give away like 2 rounds.
Right. So far he does. But the question is when he moves up to 135, and I agree with what the gentleman was just saying. When he moves up to 135, he's not going to be worrying about draining himself. He looked drained at the weigh-in. Like he had to strip down all the way. He looked drained. He's not going to have to worry about draining himself to make 135. I think he's going to come in even stronger, and he looked strong at 130. So yeah, he'll be giving up a little bit of size against guys who have been at 135 for a while, but he's going to be coming in stronger and fresher. So I don't know, D-Style. Like I've been pumping up Shakur Stevenson for a while.
I'm right with you. I mean, I think you and I were telling people, if I remember correctly, like a lot of people saw him against Herring as a 50-50 fight. I thought they were crazy. Like,
Yeah.
You know. Mario Munguia, how's it going, brother?
What up? What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Hey, give us your quick thoughts on Shakur Stevenson's performance. Then I got one more question for you, Calix, before we move on. But talk to us about Shakur Stevenson's performance, brother.
Yeah, it was an amazing performance. It really was. He did everything right. And here's the thing: Oscar Valdez did not show up to lose. He didn't miscalculate. He didn't find, it wasn't like, oh, he just needed an adjustment that he didn't make, or he didn't train for 12. No, he got beat by a better fighter who's on a different level. And despite that, Oscar Valdez comes at the beginning of the first 3 rounds, Calix kind of touched on it, with this ferocity, moving his head, getting low, trying to get inside, throwing that straight right that landed and kept landing. And it looked like it was a really good shot that meant something and counted on the scorecard. But it did not matter. Shakur is on a different level. The issue that I'm going to talk about just for a quick second is all the people pointing at the fact that, he ran around the ring, he didn't try to finish, he did these things. Look, at the end of the day, this is a sport. And Oscar Valdez, despite saying that, oh, this is a bigger fight than Canelo's and all the crazy stuff that he said, he knows what this fight meant. He knows where this was in terms of the timeline of his career. He needed the win. He needed to get this to get to the superstardom that is very much in this guy's future. So to come out and, try to go for Hail Marys when you're up by 50, it doesn't make sense. In football, they kneel the ball when they're up by, a couple possessions with a few seconds to go. And that's what he did. He's saving it.
He even did some prevent defense in the last 15 seconds.
Sure. Absolutely. 100%. And that's a great way to put it. But I think ultimately people can't judge him on this performance as much as, they can't encompass this into his career to say that, oh, well, he ran, he's a scared fighter, he doesn't, stand and throw chingazos. It's like, bro, come on, chill the fuck out with it. This is a sport. Wins mean something. At the end of the day, though, I'll finish on this, and this is going to sound like a complete contradiction, but everybody knows in baseball, home runs equal money. Everybody knows that. You can bat 230. If you're hitting 30 bombs, you're getting paid. And everybody knows that knockouts sell fights. They make you pay-per-view stars. They get you up the rankings. They get the fans to, start these guerrilla press type movements for them. Look at Triple G's career and the projection that he had and how quickly everybody jumped on that bandwagon, despite the fact that he had detractors. And then look at somebody like Floyd Mayweather, right? B-Hop, how many years it took them, despite the fact that they were so talented, because they weren't stopping and knocking these dudes out. it held them back financially. And eventually, both of them broke through those ceilings. So, the game plan's there.
All right. Okay. Now, before we move on, I want to get both your thoughts on your genuine thoughts on Serrano Taylor and who you scored it for, Calix.
I had Katie Taylor 96-94. I thought that the 4-round Serrano won. She won clearly and definitively. The 6 rounds that Taylor won were definitely closer than the round Serrano won. And it's what we always talk about. And you brought this up before. It's like you take a 7-game series in basketball. Team A can win game 1 by 30. They lose game 2 by 1. Doesn't matter. It's still 1-1. I think that's a good comparison because you look at each round as a new game. Each round is a new fight. So I think a lot of casuals don't sit down like us boxing nerds and actually score the fight round by round, right? They don't actually sit there with a notepad and score the rounds one by one. I know people who had Serrano winning the fight, and I can't argue with them because 96-94 the other way, they were swing rounds. Like 96-94 Serrano is a good card. That's a good scorecard. I just thought that Taylor, I favor what she was doing in those close rounds. I don't think she was getting enough credit for the right hand she was landing in the exchanges. They were the zone commentators, Chris Mannix particularly, was really highlighting what Serrano was doing with the left hand, but in a lot of those exchanges, Taylor was doing good work with the right hand. I don't agree with, and we've talked about this as well, D-Style, I don't agree with scoring 10-8 rounds when a fighter isn't knocked down. I think if a fighter stays up, even if they're buzzed the whole round, they earn their 9. But that wouldn't have affected the overall outcome of the fight. I just thought that Taylor edged it out, but what a great fight it was. And I don't know if you've talked about this. I don't want to go into it too much with the 2 versus 3 minute rounds. I said leading up to the fight that women's boxing needs to change the 3 minute rounds. I had a change of heart after watching this fight. And the reason I did is I enjoyed the nonstop action of this fight. That wouldn't have likely happened if it was 3 minute rounds. 3 minute rounds, a 36-minute fight. Fighters take breaks. Fighters will take a round off. What I loved about this fight and what could be unique to women's boxing as opposed to men's boxing was it was nonstop action. The fight 2 fights before that was a great fight of nonstop action, just constant power punching. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the nonstop action. These
Gotti Ward didn't need 2 minute rounds.
What's that?
Gotti Ward, they didn't need 2 minute rounds.
It didn't, but I enjoyed the pace of the fight. It was both fighters knew they had to come in with urgency. 20 minutes to do it. They had to come in with urgency. Do you think they would have fought the same way had it been a 36-minute fight? Do you think so?
There's no way to know.
So I said to do a rematch with 3 minute rounds and see what happens. Because I don't think Taylor would have survived. She might not have survived that 5th round had it been a 3 minute round. Think about that. So if it was a 30-minute fight as opposed to a 20-minute fight, does Taylor survive that fight? It's a good question. But Taylor won this fight fair and square, did a great job. I'd like to see a rematch with 3 minutes so I could see the comparison, right? Same fighters. Let's compare 2 minutes versus 3 minutes. But I enjoyed the nonstop action, D-Style.
I like the 2 minutes, but I want to see but I got you. You know what? They could promote it that way. So it's like, oh, she almost had her, but now it will be 3 minutes. So they could actually promote that. Real quick, Mario, what you think, brother? What you think of the fight, the significance of it, and who'd you have winning?
First off, I had a draw, but if Calix is scoring my card, then Katie Taylor wins because I did give it a 10-8. I disagree. I think that the 10-8 is something that happens and should happen. But going back after I've watched the fight twice, it wasn't a 10-8. I don't think it was. Katie Taylor did enough in that round where she was not in a position, like she wasn't just demolished. And that's when your 10-8 should be scored, is when somebody is getting beaten and not doing anything back at all. The problem with this fight, and I think most casuals' problems looking at this, is that they don't understand the way that boxing is scored. And Calix said it perfectly. The big moments, the moments that you remember, they belong to Amanda Serrano. That is no question. But in a fight that's a sport that has rules, there are aspects of that fight that you have to realize it was a razor thin margin. But the problem is this, right? When you have a game where one team slam dunks it 5 times and shatters the backboard like Shaq back in the 90s and everybody goes crazy, that's 10 points. When somebody does 20 layups and they're just, picture perfect, just regular old boring layups, that's 20 points. Okay, so despite the fact that you're going to watch ESPN later that night and see every single one of those dunks, the points are what matter. And not necessarily, because Amanda and Katie both lifted up their brands. They lifted up women's sport. They
Both
did it
stocks went up.
together.
Both their stocks went up.
100%. Both stocks went up. You can say whoever won, whoever lost. This fight is going to happen again. It's going to happen on pay-per-view. And from what I understand, it is pretty much a lock that it's going to happen in Katie's backyard. And I'm not saying that that's just what I've heard. This is going to be big, and this felt big, guys. The last thing I'm going to say is, I had about 15 people at the house. I would say like 12 of them had no idea who Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano were. Every single one of them begged me to tell them when this fight was happening again. They could not believe how exciting the fight was. My dad, a long time boxing fan, just hasn't had time for it in the last 10 years or so. He said it right then. He was like, these are their stars. They're going to be stars. This is star making performances. And the last thing I'm going to say is, when you put the best versus the best, this is what happens. This is how you lift up boxing, not by stalling out fights that should have happened, not by, telling you want cuts of this or cuts of that. It's by getting in the ring. And I understand it's a business, but at the end of the day, you're in the business of producing memories. That's what really you are in the business of. That's how you get paid, I guess. Who remembers Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, all these guys? How many other fights do you remember from, Juanma and Gamboa, fights that went missing that we didn't get? And these guys delivered, and they're going to do it again. They're going to deliver on an even bigger stage.
Absolutely. Check this out, man. Shout out to both women. I do agree. Both their stocks went up. A draw would have been perfect, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, winners are winners. And Katie Taylor pulled off by the skin of her teeth, just get out of that fifth round, survived it somehow, and she got a decision. Really quick, before we get to the Canelo question, y'all see Jessie Vargas at the weigh-in? Y'all see the video?
Mm-hmm.
We got in front of Liam Smith's face. And he was like, telling Liam Smith he ain't shit. He was like, look at me! Look at me! All right? Like, first of all, he's never been a shit talker, ever. You know what I mean? But all of a sudden, he's talking shit. He's getting on Liam Smith's face, telling him, like he was talking a lot of shit. Like, he was telling him, every time you smile, I'm gonna hit you, and all this other shit, right? And was really trying to intimidate, I think. I don't know what it was. As soon as I saw that, with the layoff, with the fact that it's a higher weight class and everything added, I was like, he's out of character. I know he's trying to get Liam to fight emotional. I don't know what it was. Liam Smith just beat the shit out of him. I mean, that's literally what happened. It was competitive for like maybe a round or two. By round 4 or so, Liam Smith was in his face. He was landing uppercuts on the inside. He had him against the ropes. He used his size advantage. And he just beat the hell out of this dude. But Calix, I want to start with you. What you think of, Jessie Vargas, and do you think he's done?
Yeah, I would. If I was on his team, I would highly encourage him to step away. I thought the fight was fun. I thought Vargas did some good things for about 3 rounds, but you could tell where it was going, right? Like Beefy was landing the bigger shots, and he was beefier, and he's just a natural 154 pounder. And Vargas moving up, coming off the layoff, like you could tell the physicality was different, right? You could tell it was different. You could tell where it was going. So Vargas showed a lot of heart, trying to stay in there, trying to stay in the fight. He didn't want the fight to be stopped, but we all saw where it was going. So yeah, if I was on his team, I would try to highly encourage him to step away from the sport. But it was a fun fight, and that was a fun card altogether. Like the 3 fights that I saw on the card were all great.
The
4 fights.
atmosphere. You know,
The
Vegas,
atmosphere-
it's all empty. The
That's
seats.
another thing I noticed about this D style is the crowd was an early arriving crowd. A lot of times where
Good call. Good
you
point.
see them trickling in up into the main event, the place looked packed throughout. So just a great card altogether. They did a great
Great
job with this card.
atmosphere. The Rock, posting, and they had like all these celebrities. I love the fact that they had the women of the past in the sport give like a little message. Like it felt big. I've been to big fights.
The promotion was good.
It felt that exactly. They did
It
a great
put
job on the
top ranks
promotion.
promotion of Shakur Valdez to shame.
by
They
a
put it in
mile
the
or
right-
by several miles.
But you know what kind of gave it a little bit of a dimming. Nico Ali Walsh. A lot of people I know, just the name Ali's grandson.
Mhm.
I'm going to see that. I'm going to check that out. And I was head to head with the
Yeah.
with the women's fight.
Man,
And
how
they've
could
been doing
Katie
that so
Serrano
much.
compete? Like
No, bro. I'm just talking about cultivating some new fans to boxing.
No, you're
Yeah.
right.
Some people who have no idea who Amanda, they have no idea who Serrano is, no idea who Katie Taylor is, but
At all.
Ali's grandson's fighting. Hey, I'm going to check that out. And boxing had a nice opportunity there to separate these fights. They did the same thing last week with they put the Ryan Garcia fight against the fucking Fandora fight, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, what are you idiots doing? I can't concentrate. It just ruins it. Like this weekend, the only fight we're going to see is Canelo Alvarez, the only card, so we can kick our feet
Right.
back. We don't have to go juggling for a stream here, for a stream there. This is real boxing, and it's a shame. It's a shame that the business of boxing doesn't understand that, and maybe get together, maybe do some co-promotion. But you got some hot names, and why spread them out thin like that? Where in no way the average fan is going to be able to see both of these historic fights with whatever we want to label them
True.
at the same time. So that's just something I noticed from this weekend. And also, did any of you guys check out the Hasim Rockman Jr. and the Mackenzie Morrison fight, bro?
I didn't see that.
That card that was on Friday evening.
I still have to watch that fight. So the sons of Tommy Morrison and Hasim Rockman fought.
That whole card, dude.
Who
You
won?
had Roberto Duran's son on there.
What?
You had
It's crazy.
you had Hasim Rockman's other son. He fought.
Yeah.
You remember Floyd Mayweather fought this dude, Augie Sanchez, in Las Vegas?
Sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Augie Sanchez kid fought on the card. It was
Okay.
it was like nostalgia for somebody. Just the names that were coming up, bro.
Well, shout out to the sons. You know what I mean? Shout out to them.
Mike the Bounty Hunter.
I
remember him?
wanna.
Yeah. His son fought?
His son fought.
Because he passed, right?
Mike the Bounty Hunter beat Pinklin Thomas, James Quick Tillis. Well, he was a pretty kick-ass heavyweight for a while there. That's when I had to go to bed because it was on my time. It was starting like 2 a.m. and I'm like, damn.
Holy shit! That sounds like a
but
top
that
rank
was
card.
great,
Yeah.
great for
He
you
said
West
De La Hoya's
Coasters, man.
illegitimate son.
Hey,
fought,
but
too.
let's stay on. We could just kind of continue here. Historian, what you think of Jessie Vargas getting his ass? I mean, well, I don't know. You tell me how you saw.
I saw a guy that was a weight class smaller than the guy that he fought. Just be honest. This dude, he looked nice for the first 2 rounds, but you just saw the pressure. You saw the fact that the other guy was so much stronger. Liam Smith was so much bigger, so much stronger that those punches, those little pity patting punches, were not going to keep him off of him. And he just he mollywopped that little guy, man. And that's what happened. And Jessie Vargas needs to stay the fuck out the ring, man, before he breaks his ribs or something. Give brain tumor or something, man. Like getting an ass whooping like that. And I don't know why his corner. I don't know why they allowed him to go back out there in that last round. he had no business in the ring, and he looked, he looked a little pudgy, but hey, hey, hats off to him for getting his ass whooped, but hey, retire. Shit.
He showed a lot of heart. You know what it is about Vargas, though? He's a man without a weight class right now. Because he's probably one of these guys that can't make 47 anymore. So he's going to fight at 54 because that's what he can make. And he's just going to be outclassed at 54. He's going to get beat up at 54 because he's too small. So a lot of these guys, that's what happens to them late in their career. They look for a payday, but they can't make the weight class that they competed in their prime. So they got to move up to a higher weight class. And they throw him out there as a name for a guy either trying to make a comeback or a guy moving up. And they just get beat up because they got nothing left and they're undersized. I'll never forget that Arturo Gatti quote after his last loss. He said, "I'm a man without a weight class. I can't compete at 147. I can't make 140. I'm done." Vargas is a man without a weight class.
He's a man without a weight class. Look, I want to ask you guys another question. I'll start with TBH here. TBH, is Eddie Reynoso overrated as a trainer, in your opinion? The keyword's overrated, not terrible, not bad, not good, not great. Overrated.
I mean, I don't see how. I mean, just because one of your fighters who was a champion, who was a former champion before the night ended, no longer a champion after he ended, I cannot see or say that dude's overrated just because his fighter got his ass whooped. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, Canelo, who else they got up in there? Sanchez, they got some other guys up in there that are good. I mean, I think he's a quality trainer. I think his coaching's quality. I mean, I can't say that somebody's overrated because their fighter got washed up. Now, could he have gave him a little bit better advice or better game plan? Yeah, but what could have Oscar Valdez done outside of throw more punches? I mean, if he'd have threw more punches, then yeah, then I guess we wouldn't be having this discussion. But I think people overanalyzing, oh, who's a bad coach? I mean, this is almost the same shit that I'm hearing from these individuals that's saying this silly ass shit about the Teofimo Lopez Sr. situation, which that has a lot more merit than Eddie Reynoso. If you understand what I'm saying, that has more merit because he wasn't giving them no fucking advice. Fuck him up, man. Hey, let's go home. We gotta celebrate. Fuck him up. Like that. That's horrible. Reynoso, so and he won trainer of the year, if I'm not mistaken. You can say, yeah, that guy's overrated, but as far as Eddie, and I'm just using that as a comparison, Eddie Reynoso, hell no, he ain't overrated just because his champion got beat by a better champion. Mm-hmm. Makes no fucking sense, man. It make sense to me. Go ahead.
You're on mute, D-Style.
Oh, my bad. Bruce goes, talk to us. Is Eddie Reynoso overrated?
He has a great supply of fighters. The stable is unprecedented. I mean, he has the nutritionist. He's got the supplementation, bro. I mean, his fighters just speak for themselves. It's kind of hard to say because it's the fighter who makes it. Does he pay as much attention to Frank Sanchez as he does to Canelo? He's probably an opportunist. He probably knows he's making a lot of money, but he has winners. The other night he had a little setback, but I don't think that's going to affect his status at all. I still think he's got he's got many more titles ahead of him. He's got, like you said, he's got the hardware to back up his resume, and he'll be right in there with in history with so many great trainers that are out there. Reynoso right now is He unlocks the door. They're not just rushing into him. He's selective, so he's one of the top trainers out there today. What can you say? He's part of the business of boxing.
Gotcha. All right, Calix, is he overrated?
No. And Nando brings up a good point in the chat. If we're going to criticize trainers from Saturday night, it's from the Serrano Taylor fight, not from the Valdez versus Stevenson fight. I thought both corners were good in that fight. There's no instructions that Valdez could have gotten that he could have executed. There were no adjustments that he could have made. He tried to go to the body. Like Mario said earlier, he was getting low, trying to get underneath Shakur's punches to get into the inside. Shakur was going to the body on him when he tried to go. They made a good adjustment with the straight right hand in the third round, but Shakur took that away from him throughout the fight, and that's why the output started to go down. But he tried, man. He tried to execute whatever he could execute against Shakur. He just lost to a better fighter. So we can't do this thing where, look, man, horse racing. If there's a horse much faster than the other horse, and the jockey of the horse that is much slower, you don't say that's a worse jockey. You just said he had the slower horse. And Reynoso had the slower horse on Saturday night. This Saturday night, he will not. He will not. He'll have the faster horse on this Saturday night. And then everybody will be praising him again after Canelo likely wins.
But is Reynoso the Bob Belford, comparing him to horse racing trainers?
I don't know anything about horse.
I don't know Belford.
I couldn't tell you.
He was just disqualified.
I'll take a word for it.
Qualified Kentucky Derby winner on clenbuterol and Winstrol, I believe. But
It's good stuff.
if you want to compare boxing to horse racing, believe me, there are many comparisons.
I think there are a bunch of
Man. I
comparisons.
told you guys we got a battle in this panel. Hey, Mario Munguia, is he overrated? You guys gonna leave me in an island by myself or what? But go ahead.
Of course not. No, not at all. I mean, first of all, Reynoso, he is, multi-time trainer of the year from different platforms. Like there are certain platforms that somebody wins and it's like, oh, well, he's a top rank guy and, that publication is top rank or golden boy, whatever. Right. But in this situation, he's won multiple from 3 various and very different outlets and platforms and media platforms. And so, look, I once had the very big honor of being at a dinner that Eddie was at, and he was kind of just like holding, the table and talking shop. And, I wasn't there as a guest. I mean, I think most people thought I was the busboy, but I got to hear it for a little bit. And just the way he thinks about boxing, the way he, his understanding of the game and how you're supposed to, not coddle a fighter, but kind of protect them in the beginning and build their confidence. And then you unleash them out into the world. But it's like, all you can do is get them ready. You can get them as ready as you want, but you can't, make them faster, make their reflexes better, increase their muscle density. You can't do those things. And by the way, these guys also have to show up. And I'm not saying Oscar Valdez didn't show up, but, the situations like Ryan Garcia, even they said some, issues with Frank at the beginning. Your fighter is only as good as he's willing to give out. I think the best example of this is right now. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Beat Joshua. God damn it.
Ruiz?
Yes, Ruiz. Thank you. Look at him. Ruiz is the best example. This is a guy who was stamped with the
people forgetting Ruiz's name already.
Right? Stamped with the reputation that he didn't train hard, that he wasn't a hard worker, that he was this and that. And now look, he's in this camp and he's motivated by these people who work hard every day. And we've seen a physical change in him. Is it going to make him better? I don't know. We'll see. But ultimately, you cannot knock a camp that is that tight knit. Like I remember the Black Zillions. I don't know if anybody, watched MMA, but I remember when that, started and people, were, oh my God, and freaking out. And it's like, how many did they win? But they were a close knit and they were good and they made each other rise up and evolve from another camp. And that happens all the time. You see with Eddie Reynoso, he's been able to keep most of his stable. Freddie Roach couldn't really do that when he had all the stars. So there's something to it. And I 100% he's not overrated.
Yeah.
All right. I've always been the bad guy, but go ahead, Kelly.
No, he's done a good job with Oscar Valdez because last year they were a heavy underdog against Burchelt, and they had a good game plan coming into that fight.
Yeah.
Heavy underdog, and they had a good game plan coming into that fight. But he gave him a good game plan. He executed what he could execute. They could not close that talent gap. That talent gap was way too big.
Perfectly said.
Here's what I'll give you.
Shakur Stevenson, when the bell rang, Shakur Stevenson was minus 800. Minus 800.
Here's what I'll give you guys. Obviously, Shakur comes out with a high guard. Oh, that was stupid coming out with a high guard. Right. If he came out with his hands down, why did he keep his hands up? That was stupid. Like, no matter what he did, they were going to criticize him. However, I do want to say this. All bullshit aside. Like, Reynoso's good. He's a good trainer. okay? But is he the best? Like, is he the cream of the crop? Is he the number one dude? Oh, well, he's got Canelo. He's got to be number one. I mean, does that mean he's number one?
Right.
Like, I think if you give any top trainer Canelo right now, like, Canelo would make him look good. That's my opinion. All right? Now, I did this post, and I did it, and a lot of people obviously didn't understand the post. Some did, some didn't, right? Just to prove a point. No one clowns Spencer's trainer Derek James for not being able to help Brown beat Beterbiev.
Mm-hmm.
And what was a beatdown, right? A lot of people are like, oh, you're stupid. It was just the first fight. Like, whatever it was, right? My point was, this was a same energy post. That's all it was, okay? My point is, all right, and if I find my tweet, in case you're wondering what my point is, my point, Derek James is a good trainer, just as is Reynoso. Sometimes your fighter is just overmatched, okay? Yep. I'll give you that. I agree with that, okay? But is Reynoso and Ismael Salas? Not in my opinion. Is he as good as Robert Garcia? I don't think so. Is he as good as Freddie Roach? I personally don't think so. It doesn't mean he's a bad trainer. I know people are going to like, whoa, what you mean? Like a lot of these guys have kept stables or fighters for a long time. Like Roach had Pacquiao. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can argue he improved Pacquiao's right hand, like he really did. That's all I'm saying, right? So Reynoso is a top 10 trainer in the sport of boxing, which is a great compliment. But remove Canelo, which obviously that's like saying that my uncle didn't have balls to be my own. I get it. Remove Canelo though. All I'm saying that this is, to me, it hasn't been a good year so far. Right? This is the fighter of the year. Martinez had no answers for Chocolatito. None. Now, I get it. That's Chocolatito, though. You know what I mean? But he had no answers. Like, a lot of the bad habits of Martinez were still there. Right?
And that was a close to even money fight, so that's fair.
That's a close to even money fight. And you can argue Chocolatito outclassed him probably worse than Shakur did Valdez. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know. He put a stop to him. He didn't do anything to him. Nothing. He was catching his shots and landing. He stood in the pocket the whole time. I'm just saying. So my point is, if he's going to get all this credit because of Canelo, he's got to get some, blame somewhat. Not all of it, but for the lack of game plan in some of those fights.
Yeah, that seems to me. In fairness to him, though, he's part of the reason Canelo has gotten better. For a while, right? But that's what boxing fans do. Herald the guy who wins over Herald, and then
he's like the Mexican Virgil Hunter.
Remember Buddy McGirt when he was on his hot run? Tarver knocks out Roy Jones, and then it kind of fizzles out, Yeah,
so, but there's trainers, bro. Look, all bullshit aside, that can turn a career around. Emmanuel Stewart was one of them. Yeah. Right? Now you can argue, hey, look, that's unfair. Like Valdez lost to Shakur, he loses to some nobody. Okay, but he didn't look that good against Conceição. Everybody forget about that fight? You know what I mean? And what was Canelo telling him in the back? I was listening to Shadow Ghost's video for those that want to subscribe to Shadow Ghost, and he's right. He said, look at that video where Canelo's talking to him in the back. So I did that, right? Canelo's telling him, you weren't doing anything that we trained. All the stuff we trained, you didn't do any of it after the Conceição fight, right? So obviously, of course, a lot of that goes on Valdez. But all I'm saying is, when people see Canelo win, like they talk like even Shakur is like, oh, look, I beat Reynoso and Canelo, like
yeah, that was weird. That energy was so weird. Like
no, but because
treated like
think about it, bro. It's a trainer of the year.
I get that, but what is that? Like he's fighting Valdez, like that to me. I
But they
felt like
call
it was
themselves a Canelo team.
but it was okay, but that was a clout chase. No matter what,
I got you.
It was a clout chase. That's what he's doing. Like he's just trying to build it up because he knows that beating Oscar Valdez, in all honesty, it doesn't hold water to if Canelo beats Bivol. They're two different things. And so, you know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. I know what Shakur was trying to do. I think he did it well, too. You know, people booing at the end, who gives a shit as long as they care? You know, now people want to see him lose. Like, who? Who does that remind you of? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
And you know what? A lot of this goes to, like, we actually used to do, like, topical videos, and one of them was about trainers one time, a long time ago, Alex.
Yeah.
And that was like, we talked about trainers get too much credit when the fighter wins and they get too much blame when they lose. Right? I think that's an accurate statement. Look, I want to go on to the next topic here. I'm going to go with you, TBH. Once again, there's some rumors that Teofimo Lopez versus Taylor is being worked out at 140 pounds for the Undisputed Championship. Well, I thought he could make the weight when it came to Catterall, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Who do you think wins that fight? Taylor, Lopez, 140.
We never seen Teofimo Lopez fight at 140. If that fight were to be made, right? Mm-hmm. I don't see how Josh Taylor is not the favorite. Yes, he got outboxed by Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall is a good fighter. That's why he was in position to fight for all four belts at 140. You understand? You know, and you look bad. But we're not going to sit up here and act like that he didn't just wash up Ramirez and he didn't beat in a close fight, mind you, my guy Regis Prograis. He has wins over those opponents. Teofimo Lopez hasn't fought those guys of that caliber. He's fought some good guys like Nakatani, struggled in that. Knocked out Richard Comey, beat Lomachenko, top fighter for sure. And I think that probably, you know, but we're talking about at a whole nother weight class at 140. How well does he do in that weight class, and how well does he do against someone? Mind you, he had issues with guys of that stature, but you know, that range and that stature. And this guy's a boxer fighter. He's a boxer puncher. He's a dude that likes to throw punches while using the jab as well and keeping distance. I think because he is aggressive, he's a puncher, he has a good chance to win the fight. I would say it's 65-35.
Hey.
What's his name? Josh Taylor. I think and I don't think the fight goes the distance either. One of those guys are getting knocked out, and I think that Jack, what's his name? Taylor wins. Yeah, I think Taylor stops him in probably like the 9th round.
Bruce goes. Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor. If it happens, we don't know if it will, but if it happens, what do you think of the fight and who wins?
All right. Well, first of all, if it happens, I think basically they're both coming off a loss. I mean, Josh Taylor, he should rematch Catterall. I mean, what's going on there? We're screaming for all these other. We're screaming for these rematches of fights not even signed yet. Make sure there's a rematch clause there. We just saw a controversial fight on home turf, a war. What's going on here? What's the matter with boxing? I don't think Lopez and Josh Taylor is even worthy of being a pay-per-view fight right now. I think they both have to reestablish themselves, especially Teofimo. He has to get his head together. I mean, you know, what Teofimo is going to fight Josh Taylor right now? Is it going to be the same one who fought freaking Cambosos? Because that's not that right there. Josh Taylor wins that fight. So if you want to say right now, if they come together and fight, I would say Josh Taylor strictly with the his attitude on fighting. Man, it's another one of these what if fights. I think they both have a little bit to prove before this fight becomes event worthy.
Hey, well, there we go. Calix, Teofimo Lopez against Josh Taylor. What do you got?
No, I agree. I think they're both fighters coming off of losses. I clearly had Taylor losing to Catterall, as did probably 90 to 95% of the public. But I'm confused here. And first, let me say I would have Taylor winning the fight. I would say close to what historian says. I'd say maybe even a little more, 70 to 30, because I've seen Taylor perform well at 140 before against punchers. Regis Prograis is a puncher. Ramirez is a puncher. These guys can punch. So Teofimo, if he brings some other things to the table, but I don't think his punching power is going to bother Taylor, and he's going to open up more, which is going to Taylor will invite because he had no openings against a cagey Catterall. That was just a frustrating fight for him, and he didn't show up. But one of the reasons he had trouble is he said he was drained at 140, and this was his last fight at 140. So this leaves me confused. He wants to stay at 140 now after saying he was drained at 140. But if he's going to stay at 140, like the gentleman just said, you should have to fight Catterall. I'm not understanding why 90 to 95% of the public feels like Catterall won the fight. Not only does Catterall not get a rematch with the guy who's now going to stay at 140 and fight for the belt again, but also he's not, if Josh Taylor, they already said if Josh Taylor is going to drop all these 4 belts and move up to 147, he's not going to get a shot at any of them. And not only that, Teofimo Lopez is going to move up from 135 after losing and move up to 140 and get a shot at a belt before Catterall does. After Catterall beat him, the guy in his backyard, and he should have all 4 belts in the trophy case right now. It doesn't make any sense to me. But if Taylor is staying at 140, he should have to fight Catterall before. But we all know money talks, and this is a bigger money fight, obviously, between 2 guys who have names and who were just in top 10 pound-for-pound lists. Taylor might still be there on some people's pound-for-pound list, so I get it. I just don't think it's a good look for Josh Taylor.
I'm pumped for this. I'm pumped. Talk to us, Mario. Talk to us. What do you think about this fight, 140?
I don't want to be the lone wolf here, but I love it. I love the fight. I hear what Bruce is saying, and I agree. And I think Alex made excellent points. Here's the issue with me, right? These guys go years in the top rank stable fighting what most people call top rank diets, right? And then they get to a point where they try to call the shot. So then they try to like lure a name from another, place, PBC, Golden Boy, whatever, to come over and fight him. And that's their MO. Like that's the blueprint. Let's see how big we can get our guy in-house before we start inviting people from next door. Right. This is a situation that lines up perfectly. Like Bruce says, hey, these guys got to reestablish themselves. What better way to do it than against each other? Like, this was always the fight they wanted to make. Bob teased Crawford and Taylor. Bob teased, Taylor and Teo. And this was always the fight he wanted to make. He never wanted, Crawford and Taylor. He never wanted Crawford and Teo. Like, that was all bullshit. He knew Crawford was on his way out the door. This is the fight he wanted to make. This is a promotion that can go over very well, very successful. And there's no saying that these guys win and aren't put right back into the fights that we actually wanted to see, the fights that we think demand a rematch. And I don't know if everybody else is going to be tied up. Cambosos, I feel bad for Catterall. I do. But this is another great fight. Like, yeah, Taylor Catterall would be great. I love it. But I'm a fight fan. I really don't care about the belt sometimes. Like, if there was a way to kind of just let the belts go and then still fight at some sort of catch weight, that would be the best case scenario in my mind. That's the fairest thing to do. Let them make the money. Let the other people collect the gold. That's great. But in this scenario, at least it's just a great fight. I mean, as a fight fan over the last 25 years, believe me when I tell you that asking for a great fight is something we don't always get. So,
yeah, and real talk, D-Style real quick, to play the devil's advocate. So everything I just said, don't get it twisted. I'm going to watch the hell out of that fight, and it's going to be a fun fight. And I would rather watch it than Taylor Catterall. I'm just being honest.
I'm going to tell you guys right now.
That's good.
I can't, and I said it when I was dropping
I salute you for it.
Defending Catterall. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this because I can't stand watching Catterall fight.
Well, what these styles and what Mario's saying, in a perfect world, that would be an awesome fight. But the business of boxing, man, it's just not going to happen tomorrow. There's There's so many
Oh.
fucking jump holes and loops, and
Here's what I think's going to happen.
I wish,
Go
brother.
ahead. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
No, I'm just saying, man. It would be fantastic to see, and belts should be meaningless. If fighters fought each other, nobody would even think about the world champion, WBC. What the hell is that? Oh, that's who sponsors their belts. Maybe we could get these clowns out of boxing if the fighters would get together, fight each other, and have a universally recognized champion as the champion. They could give him a fucking crown, whatever it would be. It would be on the line every time they stepped in the ring, and everything else would be subpar. Those would be regional titles, and that's what boxing should come to, bro. That's what I used to see, D Styles. That's what used to happen in the 70s and in the 80s, and all of a sudden the suits got involved. Sanctioning fees became more important than actual fighters fighting the best.
I mean, let's not forget the mob didn't exist now.
It's only gotten worse. So you guys are speaking like the yellow brick road shit, man. It's just not going to happen, bro.
Here's what I know. Teofimo Lopez beats Josh Taylor. I'm just telling you guys right now. All right.
Maybe.
Oh no, but this guy is so big. He just lost his last fight. A lot of you guys.
Go bet your house on that fight if you're so sure of it, man. That's boxing. Anything can happen.
Well, look. Well, let me say this. Let me cook a little bit. Let me tell you guys something. A lot of you were talking shit about Teofimo when it was easy to talk shit about Teofimo. You were kicking him when it was down. That was easy. But like a lot of you counted dude out, but a lot of you were counting him out before the Loma fight. That shit was not a mirage. What he saw against Lomachenko was not a mirage. Right? That's something that actually happened. All right? And everybody knows, everybody was picking Lomachenko to beat fucking Cambosos. Every single one of you. And nobody was saying, oh, I think Cambosos is going to beat Lomachenko. I really do. I believe this. Let me tell you something. I would pick Teofimo in a rematch against Cambosos, and I would pick him in a fight against Taylor. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Okay? I get a lot of you got mad because he took pictures with Canelo. They're like, oh, he's taking pictures with my Canelo. Oh, I don't like him. Oh. Shut up. Let's not be little pussies. Okay? And you were throwing shots, and you kicked the man down when it was easy to kick the man down. But believe me, the takeover will be back, right? And it will come back at 140. Taylor's too big for 140. He can't make it no more. So let's weight train his ass, let him get his ass beat, and then we'll get the carcass back to fucking, to Terence Crawford as a tune-up or some shit. Because we know he can't compete. Why is he going to stay at 140? Well, who's he going to fight? Spence? We all know what Spence will do to Taylor. You ever see a poodle fight a pit bull? It's not going to be pretty, right? We all know what a Rottweiler, like Crawford, would do to a pit bull. To a poodle. Josh Taylor, everybody knows. Not one person would pick Josh Taylor to beat any one of those dudes. Can Josh Taylor beat Ugas? I don't know. I don't know if he could do that. Can Josh Taylor beat, Boots? Can he beat, Virgil Ortiz? I don't think so. So, yeah, dude's going to get on Jenny Craig, and he's going to make 140 because he has a better shot at beating Cateron in a rematch or Teofimo in those dudes. That's just the reality, okay? You want to think about a dude without a weight class? He better make that weight, okay? That's all I got to say. There's a reason you don't want to see Little Progress no more. There's a reason you don't want to fight him no more. There's a reason he was like, you know what? He was like Apollo Creed after that first Rocky Balboa fight. You ain't getting no rematch. That's what that was, all right? That's all I got to say, all right? With that said, Francis Ngannou against hey, you guys gotta embrace it, okay?
What a segue.
Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury. Looks like we're gonna get it next year. So Bruce goes, what do you make of Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champion of the world, fighting the UFC heavyweight champion in a mixed match? They're gonna box in UFC gloves, supposedly. No one's going to sanction that, by the way, because the fingers are exposed for a boxing fight. But nonetheless, what do you think?
Well, it will be sanctioned by the WWE. I can guarantee you that, bro. So,
WrestleMania?
I mean, I shouldn't even really need to say anything else about that right there, bro. You know Tyson Fury, He's looking at the WWE like, bro, that's like us gypsies. We can travel, bro.
And Ngannou knocked out Velasquez, bro. He's a beast.
I've never seen what's his name, Ngannou.
Ngannou, yeah.
Francis Ngannou.
I've never seen him fight before, but I'd almost guarantee you, and I'd bet the house on this, man. If he's going in the ring with Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury is now involved somehow with the WWE, this is a sports exhibition, my friend. You know, this is sports entertainment. So Tyson Fury, he's not going to go in there and risk getting his knees snapped. You know, he's not going to, and he doesn't want to box anymore, bro. This is the WWE. They're going to give him a lot of money to travel, different countries, different cities, first class, get in the gym, look good, do your part, bro. Take the bumps, do the job. And, you know, he's going to make millions of dollars doing this. $10 million, $20 million, bro. The money. Vince McMahon's a billionaire. He knows how to this fucking game. Yo,
but he's a fighter, but he's not a WWE wrestler.
You and I laughed so hard when we saw that, bro. But he's laughing too, all the way to the bank, bro.
All the way to the bank.
You know?
Please. All right, hey Mario, what do you think? Francis Ngannou, is he a danger to Tyson Fury in any type of boxing match?
No, not at all. Like absolutely,
bro. He
zero.
knocked out Stipe Miocic or whatever his name is. He knocked him out.
That's super cool, but I would also think that Mike Trout would suck at cricket or basketball or volleyball or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me first of all let me talk about this whole like mixed rules thing, because nobody's been clear on what that means. Zero people, everybody that's talking about, oh, this is gonna happen with mixed rules. That would be an atrocity. Like, I would personally feel like they spit in my face to witness that. That's like satanic shit. You're trying to cross boxing and MMA to do what? Like, are you making a basketball sequel? I don't get it. What is the reward for this? Like, what do you get other than money? Obviously, big fat checks. So then if that's your only interest, do it in a boxing match. Like, if you really, and Ngannou, if you really want to fight, you know, because I know you're listening right now to me. Everybody watches HCP, right? And I'm telling you on Aftermath that if you are scared to get in a boxing match to make millions and get knocked out in the first round, second round, or just get outboxed, that's an ego problem, and you need to get over that. Connor did, and you know where he's at right now? Like with marble floors and golden toilets, like that. If that's what you want, if that's what you really, really want, then do that, because I promise you, if there is some sort of mixed MMA, boxing, hybrid, gross thing that I have to watch, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to shit on it every chance I get. Anybody that brings it up to me, I'm going to say, I'm never talking to you again if you buy that shit. I don't want to see it. I don't want anybody to see that, because I don't want it to become a thing. You know what I mean? Like, these YouTubers started fighting and it became a thing. Now it's a real thing. It's a tangible thing that happens. They make cards where YouTubers fight TikTokers. Never seen it. Never will see it.
No Usman Canelo. No Usman Canelo.
No. I'm finished. No.
All right. Hey, Calix, I mean, he's a devastating puncher, bro. He's knocked a lot of dudes out.
Connor was a devastating puncher from what I was told too. And how'd that go? It's different setting up punches against guys who have learned for decades how to not allow you to set up punches against them. So it's just a different thing. But if Tyson Fury fights this guy instead of the undisputed fight, unforgivable. If he says, I'm going to retire and then fights in this, whatever this is. And by the way, the mixed rules thing it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen because no sane boxer would allow it to happen, because the boxers are the A side in these exhibition matches, because the MMA guys are not getting paid. And that's why Floyd didn't agree to it. Conor was this huge star. Guess what? He wasn't as big as Floyd. Floyd made more money. Floyd dictated the rules. No boxer is going to submit to these mixed rules. It's not going to happen. So if they're smart, but if he fights this fight, these style instead of the undisputed fight, unforgivable. That's all I got to say about it.
Look at Usman. Look at Usman hitting those mitts. Look at this beast.
Canelo would
I mean-
bounce that dude's head against the wall.
Dude, he
Like
would
that.
Come on,
fuck
look at
him
these
up
combinations,
so
bro.
bad.
His head would be plastered.
Look at the power.
against that
Look how
American flag
square
back
he's
there.
getting.
Look at that
how square
precision.
he's giving Canelo the biggest target in the world by just being squared up like that.
I mean, yeah, it would.
go ahead,
but it's-
TBH. Give us your thoughts on it.
you know,
Ngannou,
let me give it from my perspective because I'm a practitioner of both, right? And I understand from a boxing standpoint that you don't want to see it happen, but if I can witness Demetrius Johnson go fight in mixed rules against one of the greatest Muay Thai guys in Rodtang for a whole round, you know what I'm saying, to get to the MMA round, why not? How come boxers can't do that? Because, and don't get it twisted, I understand it's all based on monetary gain and whatnot, but if it was a real competition, like someone fighting another guy in a sport, because at the end of the day, it's all apples and oranges, all fruits, different flavors, right? Different fruits, but the main thing is fighting. This is the perspective I'm coming from. If they were to do it, a real boxer that really wants to prove that they're a fighter, you're not going to do what Floyd Mayweather did. You're not, which, like I said, I understand what it was. It was a celebrity fight for money and whatnot. But you're not just gonna beat up on a fucking bantamweight kickboxer in boxing or beat up on a MMA fighter in boxing. Why not give 1 or 2 rounds for boxing? And if not, Ngannou, just like how they did with the Demetrius Johnson fight just a couple weeks ago, give him 2 rounds and then go. And then the 3rd round, let that be a damn MMA round. In the 4th round, vice versa, switch off like that. If you were going to do it now. Look, from a boxer's purist,
I mean, I would like to see if only Couture gave James 20 one boxing round, right? I mean,
well, look, I'm just look. Well, that's what I'm saying. If they were gonna do it for real, because I don't want to see no damn a guy who's an MMA fighter or who in Ngannou, even with 4-ounce gloves. If you're gonna do that, make him fight straight MMA rules or whatnot. Otherwise, if you're gonna have them box, I'm not gonna fucking watch because we know what the fuck's gonna happen. But if you want to mix the rules or mix how it's done, do it that way because it can work and it can be entertaining. I've seen it in multiple fights with other disciplines and whatnot. It can work, But I will say this from the standpoint. Tyson Fury is going to engage in this because he doesn't want to fight Usyk. I've been saying this for a long time. Usyk's the fucking guy to beat at heavyweight, not fucking Fury. And Fury does not want to fight no damn guy like Usyk because he's not going to just be standing in front of him like an idiot, like Wilder did, like many of these other big slow ass heavyweights, bum ass heavyweights he's been fighting. I'm just going to call it what it is, like Dillian White. He don't want to fight no goddamn Usyk. That's why.
I got you. Here's what I want to say about this really quick. So, why don't the boxers do MMA? Because if a boxer wants to do MMA, like Clarissa Shields did, they can go do MMA, right? If like that's just it's whatever. But these MMA dudes want to fight the boxers, and the boxers are the ones bringing in the money. Like that's why. Like Fury has gone on a record and said, "I'm not going to do MMA. They're going to take me down, whatever. That's not what I do, right?" But like now in 2022, maybe back in the day, but now everyone kind of understands like what happened in the cage.
Good point,
right? Like everyone knows, right? You don't really see boxers saying, I'm going to go over there, I'll fuck that dude up. And it's the MMA dudes that keep saying that they could beat boxers at their own game, right? That's what's happening, right? So if you want to prove that, I mean, first go through Jake Paul. And then once you beat Jake Paul, if you do, because some of their champions haven't done it, right? Just one was calling out Canelo a couple years ago. And there was some MMA fans delusional enough to think he had a shot against Canelo. How do they feel now that Jake Paul beat the fuck out of him in a boxing match, right? So all I'm saying is, if you want the payday, you got to do it boxing's way. It's just the way it is, That's just like Fury's the one making $35 million. Why is he going to go do an MMA match when those guys don't get paid that type of money? Like that makes no sense, right? Ngannou's going to make more money. He's going to be shitting on golden toilets, like Mario said, right? He's going to be shitting on golden toilets after he has a boxing match, because that's what boxing brings. That's the type of shit you make, right?
Yeah, but don't you remember like Mark Gastineau when he came to boxing, and fucking even before that, Ed Too Tall Jones,
Yeah.
And there were a ton of them in there, man. You know, because it's a cesspool and it's interchangeable parts. MMA, they can. If Vince McMahon's involved with Tyson Fury's next fight, it's not gonna be combat.
I just want to say Ngannou is not a WWE wrestler, though, bro.
But see, we'd like to see Fury fight Usyk, and he'd probably make himself $30 million. But Vince is going to say, "Oh,
fair enough.
You can come over here. You're not going to get hurt." And Tyson Fury, he can take the bumps. I've seen him take the bumps in the NXT specials and shit down at the school down in Florida, and that's once every fucking month. And you're going to go to Dubai. You're going to live like a king over there, and you're going to be in the spotlight. And he loves that shit. The nightlife,
he loves it.
And then to LA, same thing. WrestleMania, fucking SummerSlam, bro. Why go get your head punched in for?
I hear you, brother. I hear you, but we're like we got to get to the last topic here. But I want to ask you guys a question, and you don't have to give your full breakdown or anything like that. But Bivol, there's votes in the chat. 16% say no shot, 45% say decent shot, 39% say really good shot to win.
That's surprising.
Mario, what do you think? Does
I'm
Bivol
surprised
have a decent
by
shot
that.
to win?
Yeah, that's what I voted for. I voted decent shot. Look, when we compare skills and ability, right? If you've been watching boxing long enough, like I don't want to like sit up here. I hate sitting up here and being like, well, I covered the sport and I box, so I know. No, that's fucking stupid. There are a lot of people that box, a lot of people that cover the sport that don't know shit. What I've seen over the years is being able to identify what is what. Like I see a guy throw a jab and it looks good, right? But then you see another guy throw a jab and you're like, whoa, there's something on that. Like when you start to develop that eye, and it happens, right? You just got to keep watching the sport. It happens. Canelo's different than Bivol. I'm sorry. He's way different. But what I've seen over the years is that size matters. Ability and size go kind of like hand in hand in a sense when you reach that like peak physical condition. And that's where Canelo's at. That's why I give him this edge, because he's not just a great fighter. He's a tremendous athlete. I believe in my heart of hearts that if he wanted to do something else, he would have landed in the professional rankings, doing something else. Bivol's not on that level, not on that elite level, okay? And that's why he's going to lose, because Canelo has the ability, the skill set to make the weight difference indifferent, if that makes any sense at all. So I pick Canelo. I think he's going to win, but by no means should anybody look at this fight like it's like this is not just a give me. This is a man who started fighting at welterweight, okay? And really junior welterweight, if you really want to, talk about the fights that aren't on BoxRec, and now is fighting for a light heavyweight title. This is special. It's a special moment. Everybody who's a boxing fan has to tune in, because we're going to be talking about this accomplishment in 20, 30, 40 years.
Was it a tougher fight than the Charlo fight?
Yes.
To pick?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Bruce Goes, talk to us, brother. Does Bivol have a shot to win this fight?
And anyone has a shot. I mean, Canelo. We all know Canelo. There's really nothing I can speak on Canelo.
I understand. So decent shot or really good shot?
The business of boxing. If it comes to the business of boxing, I think he has no shot. As a boxing fan, he's an undefeated lightweight champion. He's got a decent shot. But I don't think business is going to like it if Canelo loses. So I don't think Canelo will lose.
So what you're saying is like if it's a close fight, no matter what, it's going to go to Canelo.
Boxing is not cut and dry anymore, bro. That's I hang out on YouTube too much. It's hard to answer questions like that. But I don't think Canelo's going to lose this fight. But Bivol, boxing wise, you never know, bro. I've seen too many fucking showings not win. So I'm watching the fight, man. I love boxing.
I got you.
I hope he has a really good shot.
Okay.
He definitely has a decent shot, but the business of boxing, the odds makers in Vegas, no shot.
Damn. Okay. Calix. How do you see it?
I just looked up the odds. They're giving Bivol plus 380. And I think that's about right. And that's
pretty good.
He's a healthy dog. He's not a huge underdog like Valdez. They're still giving him somewhat of a shot. So I would say somewhere between no shot, decent shot, somewhere in there. This is the best shot I've given somebody against Canelo in 4 years since the Golovkin fights. And then before that, it was 3 years because it was 2015 and 2018, the Cotto fight, right? So he fought Cotto in 2015, then he fought Golovkin in 2017, 2018. So since those fights, I haven't given fighters much of a shot at all, if any, to beat Canelo. But the size difference, the fact that Bivol has a jab, he's a naturally bigger guy, that's going to keep him in this fight, especially early. The thing about Canelo is he takes away your best asset after a couple rounds. So if Bivol can stack some rounds, 3 or 4 rounds early with the jab, much like Golovkin did. Golovkin had success with the jab. Now you're talking about a guy 2 weight classes bigger than Golovkin, who also has a jab, has boxing ability, has dexterity. So Bivol and Beterbiev are 2 tough fights for Canelo. They're not fights we should be looking past. We're doing this thing already where Canelo's going to fight this guy in May, this guy in September, this guy in December. We're looking past it. This is not an easy fight for Canelo.
Well
it's not
said.
an easy fight.
Well said.
But I'm obviously picking Canelo, but I give him somewhere between. I give him a decent shot. I'd say 80, 75, 25. D-style 75, 25.
Damn. Okay. I think that's
Story,
right.
Matt.
Okay. All right.
70-30. 70-30.
70. Okay. Historian.
Yeah.
Bivol. What type of shot does Bivol have in this fight for you?
Man, listen. If this fight is authentic, if the fight's authentic, all right, and I'm being honest.
All right, Carcino. Carcino
That was a good one.
If it's authentic, 60-40.
I Crawford wins if it's authentic against Spence. That's good.
Just like him.
He's gonna knock out Spence, but regardless, but under this fight, Bivol should win. Bivol is favored for me 60-40. Here's why. And it's crazy because the people that are detractors, I don't have no horse in the race with Canelo Alvarez either which way. I'm not a fan of him, nor do I dislike him. But the people that dislike him or want to see him lose, the same people are talking about Lara, Austin Trout. Oh, Caleb Plant's going to give him problems. Hell, I was even one that was hoping that Billy Joe beat him, because I thought Billy Joe was the best skilled guy at 168 for a period of time. That boxer style with the jab, with the lateral movement, with the ability to move and use footwork or use either footwork or athletic movement to make Canelo chase him, right? Well, these same guys either hoping Canelo lost that fight or thought he lost those fights are now for some reason thinking he's just gonna wash up Bivol, who not only is a champion at 175, beat one of the other champions a couple years ago in Joe Smith Jr., who's unifying with Beterbiev. This same guy in Bivol, who was hyped up that Andre Ward left the division because he was coming up, right? Remember that hype train that HBO before they went out of business was doing with Bivol. This is the same guy, all right, who is a bigger challenge than David Benavidez, bigger challenge than Charlo especially, and of course old ass Golovkin who shot, all right, much a bigger fucking challenge because he is at the bigger weight class at 175, and he's a more polished boxer of all those guys with the straight jab, with the right hand, with the 1-2, with the ability to move and use the full center of the ring. He's one of the best technical boxers in the sport, and he has decent enough power to affect Canelo Alvarez. Caleb Plant did not have that power, and some of the other guys he fought of recent did not have that. I don't understand why people are overlooking this fight. Like, this fight is a wash for Canelo. You got to be insane. All right. This is because Canelo is such a great boxer, and because he has the talent and the skill level to do it, he has a chance. That's why I'm giving him a 40% chance to win. It's just similar how Ray Robinson moved up to fight Joey Maxim for the light heavyweight title, years ago, and when what's old dude's name from light heavyweight, Bob Foster moved up to heavyweight to challenge those guys, right? I respect what Canelo's doing. If he can pull it off, motherfucker, he's not only the best of this era. We're gonna have to see where he's at on the all-time list, becoming undisputed at 175. That's what he says he wants to do. If he can pull this shit off, then he's great. But this is an uphill battle, and I think people are underestimating this. If he can do it, he can do it, and I give him a 40% chance. But I got Bivol, man.
Man, let me tell you something. Bivol's a good fighter. Not well known in the States or like that by a lot of American fight fans. They just don't know who Bivol is. So it's not like this big name people know. But Bivol's got this is a really, really good boxer with a really good jab, really good combinations, good at turning fighters. He's quick on his feet. He's textbook. The fundamentals are down. Everything I like about a fighter, right? I mean, if he was more known, this fight would be a lot closer, in my opinion, the odds, because more people would be betting on him, right? But you have like this perception, oh, he's just in a Euro bum, he's this guy nobody knows or whatever. And I think that's what is kind of hurting this fight marketing-wise, in my opinion. You have Jake Paul saying, oh, Canelo's fighting guys nobody knows. And like, how about you fight him, Jake Paul? How about you fight Bivol? You know what I mean? So all I know is this. Bivol has a legitimate shot at outboxing Canelo. It's possible, right? I just think that, one, Canelo's experience. Canelo's fought much better opposition than him, right? And I think Canelo's power is going to make the difference in this fight. That's what I think. I think the body attack and the way he turns these guys, what should be advantages to disadvantages with the arm length and all this other stuff. So I also think Canelo's become really, really good at not chasing fighters. All right. He finds a way to get these guys to box him in the center of that ring and in mid-range where he wants it, right? He won't chase after guys. He won't like one of my biggest pet peeves is when I hear guys say, and Calix will know what I'm about to say, all right? But one of my biggest pet peeves is, I've been saying this for years, if a guy gets on the back foot, that you have to cut off the ring, right? Like, and now it's a rule. Now it's on you to cut off the ring and make that dude fight, right? Canelo's gotten good at not necessarily going after the guy and cutting off the ring, but making those guys come and meet him halfway. He did it against Billy Joe. He did it against Plant. And that's what he's going to do in this fight. Round one, mark my words, Canelo will be the one on his back foot. Okay? Round one, Canelo will be on the back foot, and he will make either Bivol's going to become the aggressor, or they're going to meet in the middle of the ring and circle that ring. That's what Canelo's going to accomplish early. He's become a master at that. He did it against Plan, did it against Bivol, and he's going to keep doing it against guys that, quote-unquote, fight on the move. I think Bivol's going to make a good account for himself. He might even, I even think he'll be ahead after 5 rounds. After 5 rounds, I think most people will have him ahead on the scorecards. But I think Canelo will take over in the mid-rounds, and I think he's going to take him out late. I have Canelo by 10th round stoppage, and if no stoppage, then it'll go decision. That's what I think. I think it's the greatest breakdown of all time.
You think it's the toughest fight between 160 and 175? You think this is the
I
toughest
think,
matchup?
well, here's the thing, though, right? I think Beterbiev is the most dangerous fight in terms of his body, in terms of the physicality, in terms of what a Beterbiev can do to you in that ring could really fuck you up, right? The thing with Bivol is that yes, he's bigger than Canelo, but he's not that much bigger. Like Canelo's a small 175 pounder. I'm sorry, Bivol. He's not a big 175 pounder. I think Bivol can make 168. He might have to kill himself to make it, but I don't think it's as big as Benavidez. In my personal opinion, Bivol. I don't think he's bigger than Benavidez. I don't think he's that much bigger than Plant.
Yo,
my TV.
But wait, he's 6 foot, 73-inch reach, right? Look, isn't that
the dude at 6'4"?
That's but isn't 6 foot an average height for 175er?
No. What I'm saying, TBH, is that you don't think he can make 168?
Why? What do you?
I'm not saying he has to. I'm saying could he if he wanted to?
Could he? Yeah, if he drained.
You were just in the chat. Oh, poor Amanda. She had to fight at 175. Like everything was stacked against her. And
yeah, no, she was moving up. I mean, all you got to do is not miss any meals, and
that's what Canelo's doing.
Well, yeah, Canelo walks around at least 180, 187.
Oh, come on, 187.
Yeah,
no, I don't think.
Come on.
So do I. That's why.
But Bivol ain't that small, bro. He's.
I'm not saying he's small.
You're saying
I'm saying Canelo's fought bigger guys than him. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, I guess.
Like, I'm gonna name some names. You tell me who's bigger. Like if Bivol bigger or the same or smaller.
Bigger than
ready?
Him. Okay, yeah.
Plant.
Oh, he's bigger than Plant.
You think he's bigger than Plant? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Smith.
About the same size.
Come on, Smith's 6'4", brother.
Oh, you talking about Callum Smith?
Callum Smith, brother. Yes.
Oh, well, yeah. Callum Smith should be at cruiserweight. Come on now.
Okay, beat a cruiserweight.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. You got me. Yeah. You got
Kovalev.
Kovalev a little bit bigger. A little bit.
Kovalev's bigger.
So my point is that I think the threat Bivol poses to Canelo is not that he's going to hurt Canelo. It's that he could outbox Canelo. Yeah. That's the threat. The threat is he get a W at the end. That's the threat that Bivol brings. You think Bivol could hurt Canelo, TBH?
It's not always about concussive force, or it's not about power. Sometimes it could be that the sharp, accurate punch with enough force on it, accumulatively through 12 rounds, and he can affect him to the point where, okay, I ate a jab, I ate a clean right hand. It didn't hurt, but it's like I can't keep getting caught like this. Or otherwise I'm going to be stifled. So it could happen like that. You know what I'm saying? To where it'll make him hesitant to just come in trying to bogart his ass.
Kovalev didn't hurt him at 175. You could say that, but Bivol at this stage in the game can set up his punches better than Kovalev could
of course.
Later on in his career.
It's a better fight.
It's all. I mean, it's an intriguing fight, man. This is one of the when he announced this fight, I was like, he's gonna do what? He's gonna do what? Because I was much more excited about this than him going up to cruiserweight to fight Makabu.
Makabu
fighting Charlo and fight Benavidez.
Makara.
The two guys at 175.
Makabu Matata is such a wonderful champion.
Those were the two fights I wanted to see Canelo fight next, just as a fan. Just because I think they present the biggest challenges for him between 160 and 175.
Look, here's what I'll say. Kovalev could hurt you permanently.
Yeah.
I don't think Bivol can hurt you permanently. He could outbox you. He could beat the shit out of you. He could beat you in 12 rounds. But Kovalev's another dude. Like Kovalev is dangerous in a different way.
Beterbiev,
you know what I mean? Like I think Canelo easily outboxes Beterbiev. The question is, can he keep him off of him?
Right.
That's the question. Right. Yeah. So it's a different thing. But guys, I'll go around quick. Give me your final thoughts before I wrap this one up. Calix, final thoughts. Look, Calix working out while he's doing the video. like I mean, like I gotta hit to the gym, brother. This was like working out in the middle of videos and stuff. On the video, working out of the middle.
Great performance by Shakur Stevenson to cap off the night Saturday night, and great fight between Taylor and Serrano. It was really those two fighters, man, in the atmosphere and it was just a beautiful night altogether. And Shakur Stevenson is going places. That guy's going places. But Oscar Valdez has nothing to hang his head on, hang his head down about. He's going places as well at 130. Once Shakur Stevenson moves up, he'll be a champion again. And that's all I got, man. Great night Saturday night. I'm looking forward to another one that's coming up Saturday night.
Absolutely, brother. Have a good one, brother.
You too.
Bruce goes. Give us the final thoughts, brother. Did you get high? Did you get high?
Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. I just got a very, very interesting call, very interesting text when I was online a second ago, bro. Any of you guys know Bobby Ches? Remember him?
Yeah. Great
light heavyweight, bro.
Yeah.
He just gave me a text. He wants to do Tuesday night fights because I do a thing on Tuesday nights, man. I play some old fights. I dedicate it to a lot of times to classic fighters. Tomorrow night I'm doing Matthew Saad Muhammad. I've already got the show pretty much, taken care of from my end. So anyway, I told Bobby Ches, I said, Bobby, I'm tied up tomorrow night, man. I'm doing Matthew Saad Muhammad. He says, Bruce Gas, I told you, bro, I want to talk to you. I got some really, really cool shit that I don't think anybody's heard before. I said, Bobby, tomorrow we can't do it. I'm doing Matthew Saad Muhammad. He says, how about next Tuesday? I had to look in my calendar real quick. I said, okay, Bobby, next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, man, any of you guys out there, in fact, tomorrow night, man, sub to Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. I'm going to do a special on Matthew Saad Muhammad. I'm going to show some classic fights. I'm going to talk about him. He was born in the same year I was born, 1954. And I followed his career, bro. I mean, Matthew Saad Muhammad, dude, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be deep. I'm not a historian, but I remember Matthew Saad Muhammad, and I rocked with him. So we're going to do that tomorrow. And the week after that, Bobby Ches is coming to my show, bro. The great fucking Bobby Ches, man. Former light heavyweight champion, former cruiserweight champion. And, man, he's going to come on there. We're going to shoot the shit. We're going to have a good fucking time. Sub to me, please. I just hit 500. I appreciate everybody who's already coming on and rocking with me. I smoking on my show. Break no laws. I'm a card-carrying medical marijuana patient for the state of Rhode Island, man. I appreciate your support. We're all in this together, man. One love. Thank you, D-Star, for having me on here. I appreciate it so much. Boxing historian, brother. Salute, my man. Peace out, everybody.
Have a good one, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, yo, TBH, give us some final thoughts, brother.
Hey, good show. Fun show. Hey, Canelo Alvarez about to get outboxed this weekend. Hope you all Canelo Alvarez fans are prepared for that. Amanda Serrano got robbed this weekend. Let's see. And Shakur Stevenson are who we didn't know who he was until he showed what he was, So
showed it.
Yeah, this is boxing historian 206, man. Salute to D-Style Boxing and the HCP family. Salute to you. Salutations.
Hey, thanks for coming on, brother. Much appreciated. Have a good one, brother.
Likewise.
All right, guys, this has been Aftermath. By the way, right now, everybody in the chat, do me a favor right now. Subscribe to Bruce Goes, obviously. Subscribe to 206 TBH. Subscribe to Calix Boxing. Mario's got his podcast going as well. We're going to keep this Aftermath going. I don't know. I'm going to do a show tomorrow. It just depends, but I'll announce it or I'll be on when I'm on. But the shoe shine is on right now. All right. 408 is on this moment. The link is in the chat. Let's start going to the shoe shine. Let's go check out the shoe shine. All right. To continue this HCP prime time. Okay. So make sure you start clicking on the link that's in the chat. All right. Hashtag HCP. Once again, I'll give you guys a fresh copy. The link is in the chat once again. In fact, let me test it. Let me make sure that the link is correct. Right? It is. All right. So click on that link. Let's go to the shoe shine. Hit my like button before you're out, by the way. I want to thank Christina Cruz for taking the time. I like to have her back on, actually, but she had some things she had to do. But she gave us a good amount of time to talk about her experience. Shout out to Christina Cruz. Shout out to everybody. Everyone, go ahead and head out and check out the shoe shine. If you're listening right now on archive, You can always check them out as well. Hit the like button. Also, shout out to everybody listening on the audio form, iHeart, Spotify, that whole nine. I appreciate all of you tuning in. All right. Anali Jaramillo in the building. Shout out to you. And shout out to everybody from Luis Reyes and all that good stuff. Okay. Rolling with a punch. Shout out to you. I'm out of here, guys. I'll leave this on for a little bit. Head over to the Shoe Shine. They have a call-in number. Call in. Get on the fun. All that shit. I am out of here. This has been another edition of Aftermath. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. Hit the link in the chat.